opportunity to such members, and not any additional interests will be accommodated, unfortunately. We did have honorable member from Mozambique, but unfortunately it seems she hasn't made it into the room. That then will mean she will miss her opportunity, unfortunately. So our day is likely going to be shorter than the past 2 days, and I hope that is in the interest of everyone, honorable members. We are not just here in Botswana to remain in the room for the rest of the weekend. It would be great to have some time to ourselves to explore Botswana, create memories that we would be able to share, that when we were in Botswana, I was able to go to this place and things like that. So it will be very helpful for ourselves and our resource persons to be very concise with our deliverables, so that we are able to have time to ourselves. So how it's going to go today, as I mentioned yesterday, I missed out on the presentation of country progress reports for Lesotho. So I will take time to deliver that now before we start the business of the day. And then after that, we'll have two presentations. There is one presentation that will be delivered by the University of Botswana, and then there will be one that will be delivered by SAYWHAT. I understand it is an organization of young people who would really want to share something with us. So, honorable members, I will go ahead to deliver the progress report for Lesotho, and then we will have the first presentation from SAYWHAT. Then we will have the following presentation by the University of Botswana. Thank you. Tech team, can we have the mic for the podium? Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much, Her Excellency, Madam Secretary General, the Honorable Deputy Chairperson of the committee, honorable members of the committee, our distinguished resource persons present today, ladies and gentlemen. I bring you warm greetings from the Parliament and the people of the Kingdom of Lesotho. It is an honor to present the Lesotho country briefing on the implementation of the SADC Protocol on Education and Training and Employment and Labor under the auspices of the SADC Parliamentary Forum. Lesotho has ratified the Protocol on Education and Training of 1997 and is currently at an advanced stage of considering the ratification of the Protocol on Employment and Labor of 2023. While significant progress has been made in aligning national frameworks, full domestication remains ongoing. There are key legislative and policy instruments that are supporting implementation that include the Education Act of 2010, the Labor Code Order, the Technical and Vocational Education and Training Policy, the National Strategic Development Plan number 3 in Lesotho. However, the gap still persists, particularly in aligning education outcomes with labor market demands, strengthening protections for informal workers, and institutionalizing lifelong learning systems. In the education sector, Lesotho has made notable strides through the free primary education program, which has significantly expanded access to education in the country. The expansion of secondary education infrastructure, efforts to strengthen TVET and skill development. In the employment sector, interventions include youth employment and public works programs, entrepreneurship development initiatives, such as one that has been initiated by the Office of the Prime Minister, that is called Sibabatso Youth Enterprise Program. There are also social protection schemes such as cash transfers to vulnerable communities and pensions for old age citizens. Despite these efforts, challenges remain in scaling these programs to meet the growing demand. The education continues to receive a relatively high share of national budget, approximately between 15 and 20% of the national budget. However, the labor sector remains underfunded. This imbalance limits the country's ability to effectively address unemployment, particularly among the young people. Institutionally, coordination mechanisms exist between ministries responsible for education, labor, gender, health, and social development. However, these mechanisms are often fragmented, resulting in siloed approaches that weaken overall impact. Unemployment remains one of the most pressing challenges in Lesotho. Overall, unemployment is estimated at around 25%, while youth unemployment is significantly higher, ranging between 35 to 40%. The social consequences are evident. Rise in drug and substance abuse among young people, especially in more urban settings, increased gender-based violence linked to economic stress, persistent challenges in sexual and reproductive health, including high HIV prevalence and teenage pregnancies, are some of the challenges that we are facing. There is a growing evidence that economic vulnerability is driving harmful coping mechanisms, including transactional relationships and school dropouts. Lesotho recognizes education as a critical tool for social protection. Key interventions include, as mentioned earlier, free primary education, re-entry policies for girls who fell pregnant. They are now able to get back to school. Integration of life skills and HIV and AIDS education in our curriculum. However, the dropout rates remain a concern, particularly among girls, due to other factors such as poverty, early pregnancy, and child marriages. Lesotho has made commendable progress in social protection, particularly through its Lesotho Labor Code that provides 14 weeks of maternity leave, typically split as 7 weeks before and 7 weeks after labor. While laws mandate the leave, paid maternity leave is not universally guaranteed by law, with payments often dependent on employer policies. So this remains a big challenge for us, for our women in the country. Universal Old Age Pension Scheme, which provides income security for citizens aged 70 and above. But as I mentioned, this remains a challenge, as we do have an expanding demand for this kind of social support. We have old age citizens aged between 60 and 70 who are not in any form of employment, and majority of them do not have any source of income. So there is demand to actually expand this social protection to cover that age as well. This program plays a vital role in supporting vulnerable households, including orphaned grandchildren. In Lesotho, we have a lot of young people, children who actually live with their grandparents, either because their parents have passed away, their parents are unemployed, and they are out of the country seeking some means of living. So grandmothers or old age citizens actually play a very critical role in raising the future generation of Basotho. However, the coverage for informal sector workers remain limited. Support for persons with disabilities require further strengthening. As I did mention that we do have some social grants that are targeting people living with disabilities, but we do not have enough resources to actually sustain such programs such that they do receive some form of government assistance, sometimes after a period of 6 months. And you can just imagine if somebody is living with disability, not able to actually get employment, now receiving assistance from government after 6 months, after a year. What do they do in between? So these are the challenges that we still need to do a lot of work to ensure that we strengthen such programs. The key challenges that we face, the three most significant challenges facing Lesotho are limited financial resources, mismatch between education and labor market needs, weak institution coordination and data systems, and these are compounded by capacity constraints and limited fiscal space. Despite these challenges, Lesotho has achieved notable successes. Expansion of access to education through pre-primary education, implementation of a strong non-contributory pension system, policies enabling girls to return to school after pregnancy. We consider this as some of our successes because in the past, they created a lot of limitation for sustained livelihood of our people. These initiatives demonstrate the country's commitment to inclusive human development. The Parliament of Lesotho continues to play active oversight role through portfolio committees, budgetary reviews, and public consultations. It has supported legislation of labor reforms, child protection, and gender-based violence. In conclusion, Lesotho proposes the following to strengthen regional and national efforts. Accelerate domestication and implementation of SADC protocol by SADC member states. Increase investment in youth employment programs. Strengthen regional frameworks for skill recognition and labor mobility. Expand social protection to cover informal sector workers. Invest in robust labor market information systems. In conclusion, Lesotho remains committed to advancing the shared vision of inclusive and resilient human capital development within SADC Parliamentary Forum. We believe that through strengthening cooperation, political will, and sustained investment, our region can transform its demographic potential into a powerful driver for sustainable development. With this said, ladies and gentlemen, I thank you. Honorable members, thank you very much. As mentioned, we will now proceed to have presentations from our resource persons. Let us remember to give them our best attention and then engage them as much as possible to really uncover and unpack all the information that they will be sharing with us so that we own and take to heart the information that they will be sharing with us, because that is the main purpose why they are here. They are here to help us discuss these issues, internalize them, and then be able to take them with us as we continue to do the work of this amazing committee. With this said, honorable members, I would like to welcome SAYWHAT to deliver their presentation to the House. Thank you.
Good morning, members of parliament, honorable members. Morning. I'm going to make submissions on behalf of the students in the SADC region. My name is Jimmy Wilford. I'm part of SAYWHAT. My name is Jimmy Wilford. I'm part of SAYWHAT. SAYWHAT is in students and youths working on a reproductive health action team. SAYWHAT is a regional public health institution. It's a platform for young people in general, students in particular, who are in the tertiary institutions, who are looking at public health advocates from a non-clinical perspective. SAYWHAT envisions a generation of healthy and empowered young people across Africa. In view of the work that we have been doing geographically, can go to the next slide. Geographically, SAYWHAT has been covering the Southern African region. We are looking at countries like Angola, Zambia, Malawi, Namibia, Zimbabwe, Botswana, South Africa, etc. Then,
I was trying to alert the technical team during since.
Yes, we can have the next slide after this. The next slide. Then the next slide. Right. So in view of the work that we are gathered here for, we have two projects that are covering the protocols that we are looking at. The protocol on education and training, the 1997 protocol. SAYWHAT has got a project that we are coordinating as a consortium that is focused on community-based organizations in Malawi, Zambia, Zimbabwe to advance inclusive and equitable education systems for girls and young women in rural and farming communities, ensuring girls can enroll, remain, and succeed in school, enabling them to contribute to their economies' growth and poverty reduction. Then we are looking again at the protocol on employment and labor, where we are running a project codenamed Youth Collective Action for Social Transformation. This project is coordinating 40 community-based organizations in Zimbabwe, enhancing their ability to engage in policy discussions on key challenges affecting young people, particularly youth empowerment. These community-based organizations advocate for the creation of opportunities for young people's career growth and development. We can go to the next slide. We are looking at the realities, the youth realities in the three countries that we are covering with some projects that we are doing. Firstly, when you're looking at Malawi, I was impressed yesterday listening to the member of parliament from Malawi giving feedback on what is happening in Malawi. We based our submissions on the 2025 Afrobarometer survey that showed that 25% of Malawians are aged between 15 and 35 and actively seeking some jobs. We are talking about driving, there's a high drive of immigration intentions. If you go to Malawi today, you find that a lot of young people will be gathered at the registrar's office, at the passport offices, where they're trying to acquire a traveling document so that they can be able to use the same passport to go and look for greener pastures. We are looking again at most of the young people in Malawi rely on informal work, street vending, small-scale farming, casual labor. We are looking at girls who are faced with a higher education dropout. This is due to pregnancy, child marriages, which is also worsened by unemployment. Again, we are looking at commercial gambling that has also been rapidly spreading in Malawi, which is creating poverty chances for young people. Many see betting as a survival, but end up trapped in debt as well as addiction. Then when it comes to Zambia, we based our information from the 2025 census data, which shows that 14.5% of youth in Zambia are unemployed. Then we are looking at the idle youth in Lusaka and Copper Belt, provinces increasingly tend to alcohol and drugs as escape mechanisms to the poverty. We are also looking at young people being victims of transactional sex linked to poverty and unemployment, especially among young women, increasing vulnerability to HIV and unintended pregnancies. Then we come to Zimbabwe. We are looking at, we made use of the Zimbabwe statistics for 2025, ZimStats 2025 report, which showed that 49.2% of the youth aged 15 to 35 are idle, not in education, they are not employed, or they are not even going through any training. The same report suggested that women are worst affected, looking at 57.4% compared to 40.4% men. Reports also showed that betting might be devouring Zimbabwe's youth faster than the drugs that we are also concerned with. Informal employment is often a precarious, low paid, and without social protection. This worsens poverty cycles and exposes youth to exploitation. Generally, when you're looking at informal employment, which has become more like a common in the SADC region, informal employment is not a sustainable solution. It worsens vulnerability and undermines the goals of the employment and labor protocol, which we are here gathered to look at, which calls for decent work and social protection. When you're looking at informal employment, there is no pensions, there are no unemployment benefits, or there is no health care that is provided for. We are looking at low wages and exploitation again when you're looking at informal employment. We are looking at this informal employment, it fuels child labor and school dropouts. You find that we have got parents who are doing vending and they'll be assisted by their children who are in the school going age, but they're not going to school, but they are assisting their parents for informal employment. Informal employment keeps economies trapped in low productivity cycles. While it provides survival, it perpetuates and it denies youth dignity, right? When you're looking at the protocol gaps from our analysis, since August 2023, governments are developing frameworks that echo the SADC employment and labor protocol. That is quite commendable. I was listening attentively yesterday to the submissions from South Africa, where they were also very clear and concerned that explaining why they are taking long to ratify. I think what I picked much is that the ratification is being delayed is they want to really ensure that the supremacy of the Constitution of South Africa is protected. So when you are looking at how the government in Southern Africa are responding to the SADC employment and labor protocol, I'm sure the submissions from the member states actually also expose some of the challenges that are there. From our side, we looked at it in this way. Zimbabwe has ratified the protocol and it talks about labor intensive job creation. Malawi is a national employment and labor policy. Zambia is a national employment and labor market policy plus new labor reforms. The gap that these frameworks promise decent work, equal treatment, and social protection, but young people aren't seeing these promises in their daily lives. If you look at Article 5, it's talking about decent work. Youth are stuck in informal hustles with no contracts, low pay, and no protections. If you look at Article 7, employment treatment, adolescents, girls, and young women face higher unemployment and vulnerability to child marriage pregnancy. If you look at Article 12, social security, informal workers lack pensions, unemployment benefits, or health care. If you look at Article 13 and 15, active labor policies and resilience, countries are lacking strong youth-targeted job programs, leaving youth not in education, not in employment, neither are they also in training, without pathways of decent work. Article 17, protection for vulnerable groups. if you look at this article, there is no fully realized informal work that is also perpetuating poverty in terms of which can also go against what this is supposed to be to be looking at. I may want to go further, looking at some of the. If you look at the dilemmas that the gaps that are there within the protocols. For instance, when you are looking at the fundamental rights and employment, the protocol promises work for all, but many young people are stuck in informal hustles such as selling, etc. Then when you are looking at a pillar on child protection and safeguarding, the protocol promises protection for vulnerable groups, but in our communities, we see child labor, school dropouts, drug abuse, etc. So with that, Mr. Chairperson, as SAYWHAT in terms of calling for action, we are calling for the strengthening of youth focus. There is need for protocol and national alignment to speak directly to youth realities, skills mismatch, risky coping strategies, digital healthcare. When these protocols were designed, it was before the artificial intelligence. The question now is, how are we also going to align the protocol to the emerging technological development like artificial intelligence in view of making sure that it accommodates the young people? Then there is need to create financing mechanisms. There is a need for minimum national budget allocations for youth job programs and social protection. We have noted that there are so many young people that are in informal trading, informal employment. How is the fiscal budget providing for these young people to support their hustles? Then there is the need to formalize informal work protections. What must be very clear in Southern Africa is that the economies are evolving from formal to informal. How are these protocols going to ensure that we accommodate the informal economies that are systematically or unsystematically emerging in Southern Africa? Then there is need also to introduce accountability and timelines. There is need for us to have a call for annual reporting, independent monitoring, and deadlines for domestication and implementation. Yes, we listen to the member states on why they are delaying in ratifying ETC. There is now need for us to come up with the clear deadlines on by when should these protocols be ratified and we start implementing them. We need also to address social crisis linked to unemployment. We urge inclusion of drug abuse, betting, transactional sex, and migration pressures as labor market issues. Betting has become a scourge in our communities in Southern Africa. So there is need for us to ensure that we find ways on how can these protocols also find ways of addressing that. We need also multi-sectorial approach, coordination between education, labor, and intersecting ministries, gender, ICT, climate change, and investments in safe spaces and mental health support to reduce drug abuse, betting addiction, and transactional sex, as well as migration pressures. We've noted that how young people are quickly looking for passports for them to be able to migrate to cross their borders to the nearest border where they can be able to earn a living. I'm going now, Mr. Chairperson, going to invite my colleagues, two young people that are going to speak specifically to the two protocols. I'm going to have two of them, one speaking on the other protocol and the other speaking on the other protocol, so that we can be able to allow members to have a clear discussion on our submission. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. Protocol is highly observed. My name is Trevor Wahile, and I'm the country coordinator for SAYWHAT in Botswana. Today, my submission particularly would be on towards SADC's regional minimum package for safe and inclusion digital learning for girls. A brief summary around this is that since COVID-19, we have seen an accelerated growth within the SADC region of digital learning. We have seen a lot of development of so much technology that currently we are also using, and technologies like AI that currently also we're having conversations of how we can leverage around it. Despite all of these changes, we have seen girls in rural and farming communities being left behind, and it's actually widening the divide that undermines the right to to quality education and heightens the vulnerability to online harms. SADC Digital Transformation 2022-2030 and the Digital Education Roadmap 2024 sets a direction on inclusive connectivity, skills, and equity. However, member states, we believe also they can benefit from a girl-focused regional harmonized minimum package that guarantees safe and inclusion digital learning, where poverty and remoteness and under-resourced schools intersect, and where connectivity, devices, skills, and safeguarding and data privacy practices are weakest. There's a rapid gender analysis across Malawi, Zambia, and Zimbabwe that finds that digital exclusion increases girls' vulnerability to transactional relationships, to early marriages, to teenage pregnancy, and retention and completion of schooling. While countries have ICT strategies, digital transformation plan, education requirements, dictated financing for safe digital access and gender-based digital safe policy. Therefore, we have come with headline calls for action for the SADC member states or decision makers. The first one is that we want to introduce SADC regional minimum package for safe and inclusion digital learning for girls and mandate documentation through education and ICT regulatory instruments. The second one is to establish financing approach, blending domestic earmarks with SADC catalog facilities, pooled procurement to drive costs for rural schools and learners. The third one is to harmonize child online protection and education within data privacy safeguard across the member states. And I think within the region, we have seen a lot of member states coming up with data protection acts or revising those. So we want that particularly also to capture harmonizing child protection and education data privacy. Institutionalize regional monitoring and learning to track adoption and indicators on safe access and usage, incident response, and girls' retention, learning outcomes in rural schools. Although SADC and its member states have adopted ambitious digital and education strategies, none define minimum enforceable benchmark that guarantees safe, inclusive digital learning for girls in rural and farming communities. In the absence of these common standards covering schools, level, connectivity, and power, equitable device access and girl responsive and digital literacy, and safeguarding data privacy protocols, government implement piecemeal measures that are difficult in to budget for, unevenly applied, and impossible to compare across the countries. As a result, digital expansion proceeds without guardrail for equity and safety, leaving girls in rural communities exposed to both exclusion and harm with predictable consequences for enrollment, retention, completion, and transition to tertiary institutions. When we get to look at the policy landscape and national transition, we look at the SADC protocol gender development of 2008, which was amended in 2016. It affirms equity, ICT access, education rights, protection from GBV as core regional principles. We look at the SADC digital transformation strategy of 2002 to 2030, outlines regional objectives around universal and affordable access, harmonized regular frameworks, digital skills for all. We look also at the 2024 digital education roadmap developed with SADC and the digital schools and academic partners. It emphasized equity, teacher digital competence, low-cost connectivity resolution solutions, open education resources, and integrated monitoring and evaluation. I will quickly move to the recommendation towards SADC regional minimum packages. The core elements of the benchmark is that the first one is device access. We need minimum device to learners ratio for rural schools, community-based digital access points for shared learning, assistive device for learners with disability. The second one is connectivity. Minimum connectivity standards for schools, last mile solutions, satellite or solar powered hubs, zero rated education platform to reduce cost barriers for learners. The third one would be on protection and exclusion mechanism. Child online protection protocols for all schools, gender responsive safeguard systems, anonymous reporting pathways and referral mechanism, teacher and school learner training on digital safety. Parent and community sensitization on digital safety is also important. Moving to the fourth one is sustainable financing mechanism. Dictated national budget lines for rural schools and digital transformation, pooled procurement for device low cost and expand reach, regional partnership with telecoms for affordable technology. The fifth one would be on accountability dashboard. As we are all adopting this, it's really important to have an accountability dashboard, which annual reporting and rural school electrification and connectivity where public, where it's also access to public, gender disaggregation device across data, incidence of digital violence in school ecosystem, and teacher preparedness for digital and safety. All of this data is really important in a world that we're living in order for us to make data-driven decision. Having this kind of information accessible also, it's a good way to go. The last one would be girls at the center. All standard and indicators must include gender disaggregated data, rural and urban breakdown to highlight the inequalities that we have, explicit monitoring of technology facilitated gender-based violence. I think in an essence of what I presented, this is pretty much what I wanted to cover. I did rush through my presentation because also it was really long, but I wanted to capture the key items and actionable items that we wanted to present. I would let my co-worker Tanaka to come and present the last part of it. Thank you.
Good morning, all. My name is Tanaka Mutzembwe, and today I'm standing for the Waikai for Socha, which is composed of 40 community-based organizations from across 10 districts in Zimbabwe. As young people from marginalized and underserved communities, the most affected in sub-Saharan Africa, we request for accountability based on the SADC protocols on education and training 1997 and the SADC protocol on employment and labor protocol 2023. The reality check beyond the statistics. The SR-HR link. Economic precarity is the first driver of survival sex, increasing the HIV vulnerability amongst young women, poverty being the major barrier to the bodily autonomy. And now, as we all know, children are visual creatures. And so since they're that, we can only imagine if they can see a mother going for transactional sex, what would that do to a child? It creates a whole bonding and it affects child protection because the child will learn that the best way to get money is through sex. We go on to the child protection crisis. In marginalized and underserved communities, such as border towns, peri-urban settlements, and rural areas, we are experiencing an increase in school dropouts due to continuous cycles of poverty and climate-induced poverty, leading directly to child labor, drug abuse, trafficking, and early marriages. A child in the field is a child lost to the future. The climate threat, traditional livelihoods are collapsing. Without green skills integrated into the educational protocol, our youth remain resilient to the past, but vulnerable to the future. Our key acts to the SADC parliamentarians on SR-HR and gender-based violence, GBV. Domestication, to align national labor laws with Article 7 that talks about equal treatment of the 2023 protocol to protect young women from workplace harassment and economic exclusion. Integration, to ensure that human capital development includes comprehensive sexuality education, CSE, as a core component of the education protocol to reduce school dropouts due to unintended pregnancies. On youth empowerment and social enterprises, formalization, to create fast-track registration and tax incentives for youth-led social enterprises. We must transition from the informal hustle to protected decent work, as per Article 11 that talks about decent work. Social security, to extend the reach of Article 12, social security, to include informal workers and youth entrepreneurs, ensuring they have health and disability insurance. On climate action and future-proofing, green TVETs, mandate that all technical and vocational education and training curricula involve climate adaptation and renewable energy modules. Disaster resilience, allocate specific resilience funds for youth-led agricultural projects and affected by climate shocks to prevent the surge in child labor during droughts. The Waikai for Socha accountability metric. We are monitoring the following in our communities. The 5% university quota. Is the regional student exchange actually happening, or is it a paper promise? The NEET rate. How many of our youth are not in education, employment, or training? The current regional estimates exceeds 30%. The pink tax on jobs. Why do young women still earn less and face higher unemployment across all SADC states? Waikai for Socha is not just an observer. We are partners in transformation. We offer our network of 40 CBOs as a ground level monitoring mechanism to help and assist others alongside parliamentarians to track the real world impact of these protocols. Protocols provide the skeleton, but youth action provides the heartbeat. We cannot build a resilient future while leaving the present generation on survival mode. Thank you.
Wow. Honorable members, that should have been quite interesting for you to hear. We are going to open the floor to you, honorable members. to have your interventions, your reactions to the 3 presentations that we had. I'm just amazed by one of the statements that was said by one of the presenters. Our youth remain resilient to the past and vulnerable to the future. And if we really do not take this issue of young people seriously, we are indeed developing a generation of people who will not be able to sustain the economic growth, who will be able to protect the hard-earned gains that we would have done around human and social development on this continent. So, honorable members, here we are. Let us speak to the presentations, and then we can move ahead onto the other part of the last presentations of the day. I think I'll just take an advantage before I give an opportunity to honorable members, just to say a bit of my own interventions really on what was presented. I think I picked just one single thing that relates to what we spoke about yesterday during the presentation made by Nyasha, where the honorable member from South Africa was really bringing out the issue of resistance that we seem to receive when we are trying to actually action some of these protocols within our member states. And one key thing that Nyasha did say in response was, it is quite important that we are very cautious about the language that we use when we are trying to advocate for certain things. There are things that can just be lost in translation simply because of the language that we use. I picked something today during one of the presentations where we were talking about unemployment benefits. The message is clear in terms of what we are talking about. The message is clear in terms of what we are demanding. But the language right there could be one of the reasons why some member states would not take this up. Instead of saying young people should have access to unemployment benefits, we may as well consider rephrasing that same idea, but have it in a different language. Perhaps to say unemployment relief funds, because when you say benefits, it goes to the literal translation of saying we are encouraging and actually incentivizing, whereas we are not saying that. The actual message here is not saying incentivize young people for being unemployed. We are not saying make young people comfortable with unemployment. But when we say relief fund, we want to take you out of the situation you are in. We have issues like poverty relief fund. When we say we are giving a poverty relief, we are not saying we want to keep you in poverty by giving you these funds. We want to take you out of poverty. So it is important that in our language, when we advocate for these things, we really use the language that speaks to heart what we are trying to achieve, rather than to allow being misinterpreted and having our issue lost to translation and things like that. I really think I wanted to point that out. There was a suggestion on youth creation programs, which was quite something very interesting for me. And I think it links to a lot that we have been saying in previous presentations, where we said this whole idea of always saying young people should get into entrepreneurship and create their own jobs is not sufficient. Governments need to take responsibility of creating jobs for young people. Either creating jobs by creating a conducive environment for young people to either start their own businesses or have private sector be willing to absorb young people into employment. There was a presentation that talked about tax relief for youth enterprises. We can even talk about issues like tax relief for employers that bring on board young people. You say, if you employ a young person, you will receive a certain tax incentive for having that young person in your enterprise. These are things that we need to be challenging our governments to look into. You're not saying everybody should be a public servant, but it is the duty of government to create an environment that is conducive to have young people get employed. And I'm a young person, and when I talk about this thing, it's very personal to me. And at the same time, it is what we all should be advocating for. We have our children, we have our young people that we need to be very worried about their sustained livelihood beyond our times in office. So, honorable members, we are having very critical conversations, and having these young people get platform to speak to us, their challenges, their lived realities, to me, it's an opportunity for us to actually deliver impact to our citizens in the region by the power we have that people have given us as members of parliament. With that said, honorable members, I would like also to open an opportunity to the rest of you that would want to put forth their word on these presentations. I have seen Honorable Madigizela from South Africa. I have seen Honorable from DRC. I will get your name when you introduce yourself. I promise I will get it. I see Honorable Member from Mauritius. I see Honorable Member from Malawi. And I see Honorable Member from, I can't see, Honorable Deputy Chair from Zimbabwe. For DRC, I have seen 2 of Honorable Members. So here will be our order. The first will be Honorable Member from South Africa, Honorable Madigizela. We'll have Honorable Member from DRC in the right shirt. We have Honorable Member from Malawi. We'll come back to Honorable Deputy Chair from Zimbabwe, and then we'll go back to Honorable Member from DRC, and then Honorable Member from Mauritius. But we'll take it in groups of 3 so that it doesn't become too many interventions, so that our presenters will be able to react and then take another group of 3 just like that. Thank you, Honorable Madigizela. The floor is yours.
No, thank you very much, Chairperson. Colleagues, good morning. And let me take the opportunity to welcome the presentation. Maybe my input will be a bit controversial. I just want to talk about this idea of formalizing the informal market, which I totally disagree with. And I'll tell you why I disagree with that idea. You see, our immediate challenge as the region and my country is unemployment. People want to get a foot in the door of employment. Now, if you are going to create barriers that will make the entry level impossible, you are contributing to unemployment. Now, here's what the informal market is doing. The informal market is doing exactly that. It's giving people a foot in the door. They get a skill that they can sell in future. Because if I have a spaza shop and employ 5 people, and you say to me, I must formalize and then get bogged down into the bureaucracy of trying to formalize that, I will end up dismissing 3 people and be left with 2 people because the cost of compliance is massive. So I think we must strike the balance between informal and formal market. Yes, in the middle and higher income business operators, that is important. But the role that informal market plays, one, to put food on the table, and secondly, as a stepping stone or a launching pad for people to graduate into other markets is very, very important. I think this is a lesson, over and above the noise in South Africa about foreign nationals who come from other countries. There are a number of lessons that we should be learning. It is estimated that there are about 5 million foreign nationals in South Africa, but I think it's much more. But I tell you, you can hardly find, well, except those few who are involved in crime, but you can hardly find a non-South African that does not have an income. Because they see an opportunity where we don't. In the informal market space, the informal market space is completely overtaken by non-South Africans because we are so obsessed with rights, and we get too many grants in South Africa, which then create its own problems, because we then have this culture of dependence and entitlement. And I think these are lessons that we should be learning from non-South Africans in South Africa, because, I mean, they are thriving. They leave their countries like Zimbabwe complaining about the situation, but when they get to South Africa, they thrive because the market there provides that opportunity for them to thrive. So for me, I think we must really strike the balance between informal market and formal market, but I'm totally against formalizing the informal market because it plays a critical role, as I said, in helping people to get a foot in the door and put food on the table, but also give them the critical skills that they will use, you know, in the formal market. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Honorable Madikizela. And indeed, you are raising very valid issues that should be taken care of, that we should think deeply about. I think what I've gathered from what you're saying is really, we need to ask ourselves, what do we really mean by formalization of informal sector? Are we saying we should formalize informal sector so that it's now going to be a mechanism for preying into these institutions for tax collections and things like that? You know, what are the incentives? What are the incentives of actually formalizing informal sector? What are the risks that come with that? You know, and perhaps what would also be a question would be, how do we protect informal sector instead of regulating it, instead of formalizing it? What is it that we can do to protect it, to make sure that it creates a clear economic incentive for the people who are involved in it? Because it is there, and we see people who are living off it. Is it about regulating it? Is it simply about protecting and making sure that they are able to live off it sustainably? So these are things that we need to be thinking about. I would also want to just clarify this, honorable members. The interventions are expected not only from honorable members. Everyone present in the room is free to intervene, is free to comment on the presentations that have been made. This is the platform for all of us. So our resource persons behind there, do not feel you are left out of this conversation. We would also want to hear your input. So I'd said after Honorable Madikizela, we are going to go to Honorable Member from DRC on a white shirt. The floor is yours, Honorable. And please introduce your name so that we continuously...
Honorable Président, merci beaucoup pour la parole. J'ai quelques observations. Hier, en faisant un tour dans la cour ici, j'ai vu des Chinois. Je me suis posé la question, je pensais qu'ils étaient seulement chez nous en République démocratique du Congo, mais ils sont aussi ici. Je leur ai posé la question, vous faites quoi ici? Oh non, ils font des routes. Vous pouvez imaginer. Les Chinois quittent chez eux, ils sont presque partout en Afrique aujourd'hui. Ils gagnent des marchés avec notre propre argent. Et tout ça, c'est un problème. Là où je viens dans le système éducatif, dans nos universités, nous devons orienter nos enseignements vers nos propres besoins. Quel jour un Africain va construire des routes en Chine? Ils sont partout. Les Africains, nous-mêmes, nous devons être très compétitifs. En dehors de ça, le problème ne se pose pas seulement au Malawi, en Zambie, au Zimbabwe, dans beaucoup de pays africains. J'ai la chance de faire au moins plus de 35 pays africains ici. Mais les jeunes, ils sont dans les ambassades, des fils et des fils pour aller en Europe. Et quand vous arrivez en Europe, là, regardez ce qu'ils font comme travail. Mais c'est pénible. Vous avez raison, Président. Les pouvoirs publics doivent créer des conditions de travail et rendre nos jeunes compétitifs. C'est très important. Les marchés aujourd'hui, même les restaurants sont tenus par des Indiens, des Chinois, et j'en passe. Ce n'est pas possible. Les Africains, nous sommes où? Nous nous plaignons pourquoi? C'est parce que parfois nous ne mettons pas du sérieux dans ce que nous faisons. Et les autres viennent de gagner des marchés, de l'argent. Notre propre argent qui vient de gagner des marchés. Je crois que nous devons prendre cette prise de conscience pour que nous soyons compétitifs et orienter nos enseignements vers nos besoins que de prendre les gens qui viennent d'ailleurs et prendre notre argent et amener ailleurs. Merci.
Thank you very much, Honorable, with that powerful intervention. One really that speaks to the problems that we see, but very diplomatically, we are very shy to confront, but they actually are part of the challenges and problems that we face. We have a lot of young Africans who are capable of doing what we see being done by other people from elsewhere. And those are evident needs that our countries do have. Construction of roads will happen for the next 100 years. We will continue having them. Why, if we see that there are economic opportunities, why are we not training our people to actually be very competent in actually delivering those services? These are things that we really need to be thinking thoroughly about and not be selling them out through diplomacy, in simple words. Honorable member from Mauritius, your mic is already on. I see you're very impatient. We are going to have you intervene, and then you will be followed by honorable member from Malawi. You had your hand up, right? Yes, Malawi. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. I also thank the presenters for their presentations. I'm Jacques Edouard from Rodrigues, Mauritius. I'd like to intervene about the link between unemployment and drug addiction, because it's not always what we think it is. We always say that it's unemployment brings to drug addiction because of idleness. But we witness in some areas, like at my place, it's because of drugs that people are not working. They lose their jobs because of drugs, or because we are in drugs, we do not, we are not in employment. And for instance, in Mauritius, we are importing labor from Madagascar, from India, from Africa. In many sectors, we have Africans, Malagasys, Indians working in the tourism sector, in filling stations, in markets, supermarkets. We have imported labor everywhere. So it's because of drugs. The youth, mainly, they are in drugs, and we can't have them to work. So sometimes it's the other way around. It's not because of unemployment that we have drug addicts. Also, there's a question of, there's a big debate about how to help those in unemployment. We have been talking about unemployment benefits, but this is also very tricky, because we must be careful not to have people who are finally becoming, what to say, I don't know if the word is too hard, becoming beggars because they are being assisted by government all the time. Should we have unemployment benefits everywhere and each time, or should we help these people to help themselves by facilitating self-employment, for instance? Because why don't we encourage those who are seeking to help themselves in creating their own jobs and not only helping people to remain idle? Because in this way, I think we will be encouraging to have a generation of beggars or of people who are always waiting for assistance from the government. And also, this creates, I think, a mentality, not only we are seeking assistance from the government, but we think that we must seek assistance from other countries, but richer countries. And this create a kind of dependency on government, on other countries. And when this assistance is seized, we are in very difficult situation. So sometimes it's very tricky when we want to help, but at the same time, we are creating a situation where things worsen. So I think we must strike the right balance to see where we must help really and where we must create the environment for people to be taking themselves, take their destiny in their own hands, because I think it's very important that we not mingle our objectives so as we see, because as politicians sometimes we like to have people in these situations, and then where we come to be as God and taking these people out of difficult situations for political gains. But I don't think this is our mission. Our mission is to have nations that are strong and that can stand on their own feet. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honorable. Indeed, you are touching on exactly what this committee is about. We are a committee that is committed to sustainable human and social development, sustainable, and not creating any forms of dependency, things that we cannot be able to sustain. So as I did mention earlier, on the importance of language, importance of approach and intention, when we talk about how then do we provide social support and protection to those who are unemployed? Is it the right way to say give them unemployment benefits, or talk about strategies and approaches to take them out of unemployment? We don't want to sustain them there. We don't want to keep them unemployed. We don't want to make them comfortable being unemployed. But we are saying we need to do something about their situation. So the approach will speak to whether we are actually doing it sustainably or we are creating a dependency, as you are mentioning. So it's a very tricky thing that really needs a lot of deep thought and imagination around it. You did also raise a very interesting issue around trucks and unemployment. It is a two-way street. It is something that should be looked at, that it can go either way. We have people who can lose their jobs because of trucks. We have people who get into trucks because they're unemployed, and it's a coping mechanism, as all of the presentation did mention. So the situations are very, very unique and would need to be assessed thoroughly when decisions are being made. Thank you very much, Honorable. Honorable Member from Malawi, we'll give the floor to you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Chair. Allow me to start by congratulating the youth for the powerful presentation. I think no one could have presented them better than they have presented themselves. I think this is amazing. Yes, we're dealing with a very critical issue here, but at the same time, I see a future in this youth. I mean, when you look at the presentation that they made, you can begin to appreciate that, yes, in this youth, we have a future. We need to continue investing in them. I want to congratulate them for that. I think as governments, we are really challenged. We are challenged. The youth unemployment to some extent is also undermining our education system, because the youth are now beginning to question, why should I go to school? What for? Will my life change if I go to school? But we all know that education is critical, but when it doesn't give them the end line result, it becomes very frustrating. So I think the youth must also accept that we are in this challenge together with them, and that we should together, governments and the youth, navigate a way out. I was imagining when I was just completing my first degree in the university, people were getting employed before they write their final exams. Everybody would be hired even before you pass your final exam. But it's no longer happening. And at that time, we were writing letters home to say, I'll be closing school in 3 weeks' time. And then you get home before the letter reaches the parents. So there was this technology which is hitting our youth now. The youth must find a way to protect themselves also from this life, a life that parents cannot even manage to protect them. If we go out there in the village and find out, we have parents that have children, but the parents never know what TikTok is. They never know what YouTube is, but the children do. So we need to strike a balance in terms of how do we navigate this reality. It's quite a challenge. In Malawi, the examples that they have highlighted are real. We are seeing betting becoming a challenge in Malawi. It's becoming a challenge, and they've picked it. The presenters, the three of them, no one is from Malawi, but they were able to pick it, to say, look, Malawi, betting is becoming a challenge in your country. And the cyberbullying as well. It's a challenge, very embarrassing. You find a girl and a boy in a relationship, they break up and they start embarrassing each other online. It's terrible. So we need to be serious and see how we can navigate through this together. But in Malawi, we're beginning to move out from talking about just the girl child. We want to be talking about the boy and the girl at the same time. Because the past years, we focused on girls and we saw good results, but the boys were becoming frustrated. And some were becoming hostile on girls and wanting to distract the girls deliberately because they saw that the girls had more programs that targeted them than the boys. So I want to urge member states, let's look at the boy and the girl, both as human beings that must be protected and supported all through. So that at the end of the day, the boy and the girl must see each other as friends colleagues, and support each other. Otherwise, we will create that enmity, that boys will be hostile on the girls, and then making it difficult also for the girl to progress. But this has been a challenge that as the only parliamentarian in this room from Malawi, I'll certainly take home. I hope the Secretariat will make sure that the presentation is available for us. I'm beginning to say, how am I going to organize the NOSI for the parliament in Malawi from this kind of presentation? Because the issues they have presented, Chair, are very powerful. And I've seen that you are in that as well. I can see the way you are reacting to the issues. It's not mean. It's something that we must continue working on it. Thank you so much, Chair.
Thank you very much, Honorable Member, for the encouragement to the young people. Indeed, I share the same sentiments with you. The way they presented, they showed their capabilities, they showed the understanding of these issues, and the good thing with the presentation is they did not come and cry before us. They even came with solutions. They even came with recommendations, making them party to the solution that they are seeking. And this is the mentality that we need to encourage, that young people stand up, speak your problems, but also speak to the solution to your problems. And then ask for support where you have limitations. If we continue to encourage that, we are building a brighter future for young people of this continent. After the honorable member from Malawi, we'll then have honorable member from Malawi, the deputy chair, and then we'll go back to the honorable member from DRC. Honorable Deputy Chair.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I thought you said the other one from Malawi than myself. Sorry about that, Honorable Chair. I just want to highlight one point which I feel maybe we must invest most of our time, because most of the issues have been highlighted. I just want to talk about the issue of drugs. And I just want to thank all the presenters, because the issue here is about how best can we help our young people to get into the issue of our economy, so that maybe we also raise them while they are still young. So I was just thinking about the issue which they mentioned about the issue of migration. Most of the young youth are coming from, like, for example, Zimbabwe to South Africa, to Namibia, to Botswana, and they are running away because of our economies in our country. And I was thinking around it and say, how best can we curb corruption, which is also fueling the issue of drug trafficking across our SADC border region. And we must maybe strengthen our systems in terms of corruption, and also try by all means to be transparent in our border officials. And maybe if we invest in modern surveillance systems, at the same time empowering our youth, so that as government, we must create jobs. Because if we create jobs for these people, and if we invest in education and opportunities, obviously it's the key to reduce the daily migration, which will also reduce the issue of vulnerability into the issue of criminal networks. And if we invest so much in these areas, I know we are going to reduce the issue of drug trafficking, because our young girls, you know, all the shocks will go to them, the issue of early child marriages, the issue of school dropouts. So let's invest more into our youth by creating jobs in our nations. I thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Honorable Deputy Chair. Yeah, I had promised that I was going to take 3 honorable members, have the presenters come through, but I realized that I have already violated my own arrangement. But now that we have the last honorable member, I'm going to request just to have him come through so that the team will then come and react to the presentations. But as they are listening to the honorable members, I would want them to start thinking, what would success look like for them? What would be the key takeaways that they would want this meeting to have? What are the expectations of this committee? The honorable members of parliament, when they go back to their countries, what do they want to see the honorable members do, advocate for? How can we support the work that you do such that your presence here today would have yielded something positive for you to say, after presenting before the SADC committee, these are the changes that we see happening. These are the things that we have achieved. These are the advocacy messages that we want out there. It will be important for us to know from their lens, what can we do to support them? So they should be thinking of those, and then when they come back on the stage, they will be able to say a bit more around that. Honorable member from DRC, please take the floor.
Merci beaucoup, honorable président, de la parole accordée. Mon intervention s'articule autour du travail informel, la problématique. Donc, qu'on essaie un peu de réfléchir sur l'avenir ou l'impact de ce travail. J'essaie un peu de suivre les interventions des autres, mais permettez, honorable président, je prends l'exemple de mon pays, la République démocratique du Congo, qui a une population majoritairement jeune. 60% sont des jeunes, sur plus de 120 millions d'habitants. Alors que chaque année, le pays, les universités et instituts supérieurs déversent entre 20 000 à 40 000 diplômés chaque année. En réalité, il n'y a que peut-être les 10% qui trouvent d'emploi. Et le reste, les 90%, n'ont pas d'emploi. Alors, la seule façon pour survivre, ce sont ces jeunes-là qui sont dans le secteur informel. À mon humble avis, chers collègues, c'est comme l'a dit mon prédécesseur, le collègue de l'Afrique du Sud, n'est-il pas possible de réfléchir sur des mesures d'encadrement de ces informels, de ces travails informels? Parce que si on arrive à priver ces jeunes de ce travail informel, mais c'est là où il y a le banditisme, c'est là où il y a la toxicomanie. J'ose croire que, moi-même d'ailleurs, je suis l'exemple. J'étais enseignant, quand j'ai terminé les études, je vis que l'enseignement ne paye pas, je me suis donné, oui, j'ai créé ma petite entreprise de 2 personnes, moi et mon répondant intérieur. 6 ans, 7 ans après, je suis passé d'une entreprise, donc de l'informel, à une entreprise qui paye les impôts de l'État. Et j'ai pu engager plus de 90 personnes. Et si aujourd'hui je suis sénateur, je suis parlementaire, c'est à partir de l'informel qui m'a transformé jusqu'à arriver au niveau du secteur formel en créant d'abord de PME, c'est-à-dire petite et moyenne entreprise, et jusqu'à avoir une entreprise qui a engagé autant de personnes. Donc, à mon humble avis, chers collègues, il nous faut des mesures d'encadrement. dans l'Afrique subsaharienne, qu'on ne mâche pas les mots. La plupart des jeunes sont au chômage. Et aujourd'hui, nous sommes en train d'encourager l'entrepreneuriat. Mais comment cela doit commencer? C'est-à-dire de l'informel, et il nous faut des mesures d'encadrement pour qu'on quitte l'informel pour arriver au PME, et peut-être ces gens-là seront beaucoup plus utiles avec beaucoup de gens qui seront engagés dans l'avenir. J'ai dit, honorable président.
Thank you very much, Honorable Senator, for that passionate engagement indeed. Even giving relevant personal examples about how the informal sector plays a critical role in our economies. And like I said earlier, you are emphasizing on the need to support and protect informal sector without actually formalizing it because of its key role in the entire cycle of economy. And I think that is, again, the question that we need to reflect deeply on, to say, what are the vulnerabilities that we see within the informal sector that need to be addressed without necessarily having to kill the informal sector for favor of making it formal? You know, there are advantages of having it as it is, but then the bottlenecks that exist are the issues that we need to be addressing. And I totally agree that with that line of thought, Honorable. Honorable members, as we said, for the sake of time, and I think, yes, I'm not really leaving anybody behind based on the initial interest that we had. We are going to have our presenters give a bit of reactions to the presentation. And again, the key questions that I did ask: what does success as young people look like to you? Would really want to hear your input on that. What are the key takeaways that we would want this meeting to have? How can this committee support the work that you do? What would you expect these honorable members, when they go back to their respective countries, what are the advocacy messages that you want them to be pushing for? To us, that will then say, we have been able to hear you, but not just to hear you, but to act on what you brought before us. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. Thank you very much, honorable members, for the feedback and the comments that you have given to the presentation that we made. Firstly, how one defines a concept determines how the same person can operationalize the same. So indeed, the definition of a concept is very important. And I note that we were so much seized with how do you define an employment benefit. How we define an employment benefit will determine how we operationalize the same. So this is going to be a shared responsibility in terms of the young people and the members of parliament when it comes to the definition of the unemployment benefits. I'm sure if one is to read through the provisions, we can be able to find each other so that we can be able to not promote laziness, but to ensure that we provide protection on that. Honorable member from South Africa, Honorable Madikizela, in my view, you are not controversial. What you raised are pertinent issues in regards to formal, informal employment, etc. Honorable members, I may want to challenge you to reflect on the investment environment, how it has been evolving for a long time now. Here we are looking at two protocols. One protocol was enacted in 1997 I'll be surprised if we still have a member of parliament who was in parliament in 1997 here. I'll be surprised. Which then means that a lot has evolved over the years. We are looking at the protocol on employment, which was enacted in 2023. From 2023 to 2026, a lot has also evolved. So if you are looking at informal and informal, indeed, the informal economy is existing. What we may need this committee and other committees again under the SADC parliament is to find ways of harmonizing the evolvement of the economy from formal to informal. We may need also to deal with that concept. To what extent can I say this is informal? To what extent are we calling it formal? So we now need to relook at those concepts. At the same time, the cost of doing business formally, the licensing, is exorbitant for a young person. The licensing that are being requested for the young people to be adjudged to be operating within the confines of the law, the licenses are too much. To what extent can this committee work together with possibly a committee that is looking at financing, taxes, etc.? How can those committees work together and harmonize to ensure that, yes, we ensure fiscal contribution by the young people, at the same time promoting the young people to earn a living from the work that they are actually doing? Honorable member from DRC, you raised a key issue in terms of who is doing work, who is winning maybe possibly tenders, etc. In my considered view, honorable member, I submit that we are dealing with symptoms. We have got foreign policies in each and every member states, and there are bilateral conversations that are taking place between member states and other countries. To what extent is this committee contributing to the bilateral conversations that are taking place between a member state and possible investing or a developed nation? So there is a need for us again to look at this not limited to our committee alone, but to know that this committee's work interconnects with other committees and possibly find ways on how can we also contribute to the aspirations of those particular bilateral conversations. Because when you are seeing other investors, citizens coming to do work in our countries, they are guided by bilateral conversations because they are also given permits. Who is giving them permits? And what basis are they are being used to give those permits? So there is need also to interlink that, in my view. I liked so much the narration that at times drugs can result in unemployment. It's true. We have seen some young people who are employed and they get money, they use that money to buy some drugs. Then later on, they don't do their work very well and later on get dismissed from work. And it's something that we need also to look at. Lastly, how do we see success? I've taken note of what even has been raised from DRC and also from Zimbabwe in terms of drug and substance abuse, etc. I want also to use that as we conclude in terms of our responses on how do we see success? How does success look like? Honorable members, if we look at the aspirations of the two protocols, if we go back to the basics of the aspirations of the two protocols, there is going to be a lot of success. If you look at the articles that are in the protocols, like when you're talking about the creation of a conducive environment for employment for young people, equity, child protection, etc. The aspirations of the protocols, in my view, if we are to just to implement 75% of the aspirations of those that protocol, notwithstanding additions to do with the inevitable technological development when you're looking at the ICT development. Member from Malawi mentioned that we have got parents who don't know how to use TikTok. And some of the young people are even using their parents as content creators unknowingly. You go there, have a conversation with your parent in a way that is funny, and you go and post it on social media. It becomes content for that child. But the parent is just, or maybe the grandmother is just enjoying the conversations with the grandchild. The question now is, how are we going to incorporate the inevitable ICT development into these protocols? We spoke about 1997 protocol that we are discussing about. A lot has happened from 1997. 1997, there was no WhatsApp. WhatsApp started maybe being there around maybe 2013 or 2014, after 2000 thereabout. There was no WhatsApp, right? So the question now is, how are we going to incorporate those developments? But before that, Mr. Chairperson, I would propose that I would submit that success is going to be seen from how we implement 75% of what is in the protocols. Notwithstanding additions the gaps that we identified yesterday and today, in terms of what we are seeing as gaps, then strengthening those protocols, I'm sure there's going to be a whole lot of success. I can assure you that the young people are prepared to work. No wonder why you see them crowding their registration offices for them to get documents to go and work. Indeed, I agree with the honorable member who observed that when they go out there, the young people are maybe seizing themselves with not only one job, 2 or 3 jobs. They don't have time to rest, right? So these protocols, in my view, they can create conducive environment in the countries, in their native countries, to the extent that they can work. Lastly, Honorable Chairperson, you note that informalization and formalization sometimes can create some bit of confusion. You mentioned that we don't want people to spend the whole day in here, and they might also go and see a little bit of Botswana. Where you notice the difference between informal and formal is today is a Sunday. Shops have got trading hours. The trading hours can actually, in a way, tell you whether this is formal or informal, in a way, right? You might go out there and find certain outlets closed because it's weekend. But in some cases, in some instances, in other economies, you find that certain outlets can be open 24 hours. People are in shifts. How are we also adjusting ourselves as our economies so that it can be able to save everyone at any given time? So it's something that we also need to look at in a way. What is happening in terms of our geopolitics that is happening? I'm sure fuel in Botswana went up yesterday midnight or on Friday midnight as we are transitioning from Friday to Saturday. In case you were still here, didn't know, fuel went up in Botswana as we were transitioning from Friday to Saturday, right? But if you look at it, these fuel increases are reacting to what is happening elsewhere. The question is, how now are our protocols, again, one way or the other, finding time to adjust them? But I'm very privileged and happy, honorable members and chairperson, that we were given an opportunity to submit these observations on the protocols. I must say the protocols, if you are to be followed, indeed, they are going to save the interests of the young people. I thank you, honorable.
Thank you very much, our esteemed presenter. Before we close it, honorable members, may we invite Madam SG to say a few comments.
Okay, thank you very much, Honorable Chair. Let me confess a conflict. I'm the patron of the young people. And therefore, if I did not say something, it would be remiss of me at this juncture. Particularly because when the SADC Parliamentary Forum decided to integrate public hearings in their committee system, this was fully based on the fact that this will be exciting and inspiring for representative democracy. And we also note that if we don't necessarily take full advantage of this at the regional level and ensure that we cascade these aspirations to the national level, we would then be on the other side of the coin where these hearings are very frustrating. And I like what the chair is doing by saying, what is the promise from that inspiration that you'd like to see this committee take forward? Honourable members, there's a lot of evidence that unemployment and many other ills have a link to political instability. And I also believe that as we discuss, it is very important to realize that we're not yet opening the book of Lamentations, where the temple of Babylon is falling in our time. I think that there's enough hope that we can infuse into this process. We have confessed our sins this morning from the interventions that the members made, that the policies are there, implementation is a problem, that indeed drugs and unemployment go well together, that indeed the policy environment that is required to lift or deal with the issue of unemployment requires your intervention as honorable members. Where I sit, I wouldn't want us to sit in this intense grief. I would like for us to say, when I go back to Malawi, like Honorable Banda has said, I'm thinking of what is it that I'm going to table before Parliament. And if this committee can move from this intervention by saying, when I go back to Eswatini, I'm going to ask a question based on the observations that are unique. I think Mauritius did ask, is it Mauritius or DRC did ask, Mauritius did ask about the relationship of drug abuse and unemployment and how far that intervention can be looked into. DRC also spoke of the issue of the policies that we implement in our countries insofar as looking internal or external in terms of dealing with this issue. It would be sad for us to leave this public hearing and meet yet again in Seychelles in July, where none of us can report or convey that we have asked these questions, or we have met with the minister, we have met with young people, and you are looking at the following interventions for review in your countries. It then basically means that the inspirations that were envisaged through these public hearings and the promises that these young people in the room are looking forward to will fall far from the social ideal. And it also means that it also shakes us as a SADC Parliamentary Forum to reflect, do we need to continue with these hearings or should we not? And I'd like to plead with honorable members that honorable members, indeed let us do that. We must confront the paradox of these regional protocols and what obtains at national level, or what we as representatives of people ultimately do when we get back to our countries. The present mechanism has already indicated where sovereign states are also given the liberty to say no or yes, or to look at the internal mechanisms to implement some of these inspirations is one that we must confront. May we agree how many oversight questions we are going to ask? If indeed at least we'll give an audience to these young people in our countries. Today we have members of SADC-PF, we also have chairpersons responsible for education or unemployment. May we kindly request that you collaborate and at least report back something concrete that these young people can hold on to. Let's also focus on the protocol. Go back and look at how this protocol as a sovereign nation contradicts with your national processes. or enhances it. And let's bring back that feedback from the protocol and not necessarily the grief that comes from unemployment that we seem to be finding ourselves lamenting. I didn't want to open another book of lamentations. I hope that we have agreed on strategies of what honorable members can agree to moving forward. Let me congratulate SAYWHAT for this presentation. Very practical, pointed. If you need it, it will be circulated. Take the same data and ask the minister. Honorable Minister, are you aware that indeed this is what is happening? Are we not perhaps going to find ourselves with A, B, C, D in this country? Where is the protocol that we hear about? Shall we perhaps have a committee look at this protocol and advise accordingly? That will be the step in the right direction. I thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Madam SG, for giving a bit of direction as far as what honorable members can do. Honorable members, this is the time that we normally go for a short tea break, but given that we have the last presentation, with your indulgence, would you agree that we just have the last presenter come through, present to us, and then interact with the presentation, after which then we will close for the finish of the day? Do you allow me, honorable members? Thank you very much. At this point, we are going to invite the University of Botswana, who will then make another compelling presentation before us. And then we will have that as the last agenda for the day. Let us welcome the University of Botswana members. Thank you.
Okay, good morning. I just want to thank you for this opportunity. I'm actually writing on the established protocol, and I made to believe that my work has been made easier by previous presenters who tried by every possible means to unpack the systematic challenges that are faced by women, youth, and elderly. May we go to the next slide, please? So my name is Munjay Edmo. That's my name. I'm at the University of Botswana. So what is the significance of this conversation about the vulnerable groups? Why are we talking about it? So vulnerable groups in SADC labor market requires immediate attention to address systematic inequalities, impact their economic participation and growth opportunities. And we have to focus mainly on the challenges faced by women and the elderly in the global south. Next slide, please. Okay, so what is the overview of regional labor market dynamics? The SADC region. Okay, thank you. So the SADC region faces significant challenges, including high unemployment rates, as has been presented by previous presenters. They've deliberated on statistics to say in Malawi and Zimbabwe, the unemployment rate is around this, but the statistics around to our studies, it hovers around 10 to 11%, although some countries, they have a slightly higher unemployment rate. So the labor force grew from 104 million in 2009 to 142 million in 2019, meaning job creation has not kept pace with the growing population. at a large share of unemployment is in the informal sector. So you'd find out that the majority of people who are employed, they are in the informal sector. So you'd find out that the global labor inequity evidence, we have discovered that women are about 20%, they earn about 20% less than men, and their participation in labor force is below 50% globally. Then the labor income, women receive about 52% of men's income. And the majority of women are in the informal sector. Youth unemployment rates. The youth unemployment rate in the SADC region ranges from 25 to 50%, reflecting significant disparities compared to other regions like OECD. And in terms of the gender pay gap, the persistent gender pay gap in SADC shows women earning about 20% less than men, indicating deep-rooted inequalities in the workplace. Then in terms of pension coverage discrepancies, there is limited pension coverage for informal workers in SADC, which then expose our elderly into vulnerability and overdependence. Then the labor challenge overview. We talked about high unemployment rates among our youth across the SADC region and across the whole Africa. And it actually hinders the economic development and limit opportunities for young individuals entering into the workplace. So we also talk about the gender inequalities and informal employment. Now I want just now to focus on the challenges that are faced by women in the labor market. So I have already shared with us that in terms of the wage, women face a persistent gender wage gap today, occupational segregation. Then in terms of participation, they are 50%, remain below 50% who are actively participating in the formal market. And so in other words, the majority of them, they're in the informal sector. Then what are the major barriers women face? So I said number one is the unequal pay. You'd find out that in the university setup, for example, the promotion criteria is unbelievable to an African woman who is defined by several roles. You'd find out, for example, in Zimbabwe, according to Zimche promotion criteria in the academic sector, for you to become a professor, for example, you need to publish something like 45 articles. Now, how are you balancing the two? There is family, there is a child, there is this other social responsibility. So women are continuously segregated from these high level and high paying jobs. You'd find out that the majority of our women, they are in the low paying jobs. For example, I'm not saying it's low, but statistically, it shows that they are in education, nursing. That's the majority. Where are the engineers? We need engineers. We need engineers. We need pilots. Those who are in the construction, we need them. But where are the women? So a large percentage of women work in the informal sector, limiting their access to social protection, benefits, and job securities, limited access to finance, entrepreneurship. This is very key, honorable members, that our women are underrepresented in STEM, science, technology, engineering and mathematics, they are segregated. You'd find out that a few, the lucky ones, enroll into these STEM subjects, which limit them their opportunity to those high-paying jobs. What are we supposed to do as SADC? What are we supposed to do as governance to address to this issue that continuously expose our women into vulnerability? That cultural and social norms. In the afternoon yesterday, I was with other honorable members out there. So we're actually like taking some tea. And we believed that in South Africa, it was a conversation about South Africa, those who are filing divorce, you know. I listened to the honorable here present, and he said in South Africa, as women are sent to power, or as their pockets become so fat, the next step they take is to file a divorce. How far true is this? Is it a reality? If it is reality, what is it that member states are supposed to do to address that phenomenon? Because as long as members, as long as employers, as long as men feel that when women are sent to power, the next step they are going to take is to do is a divorce, which means they are going to set standards that bar or hinder women from ascending to power. SADC members, this is a challenge that we have to address. Women, they are saying, men they are saying women, when they get money, they don't respect. Is it about respect? I think we have to address that issue. You'd find out that, then in workplace harassment, I think this one is key. Whether we like it or not is key. I met some members who said, I don't want my wife to work. Then I said, why? Said she will be sexually harassed at work. And us, we have also witnessed that. And we know it. We know it. So what is it that SADC protocol on labor, what is it that we are doing to address this monster? It actually undermines their performance. They are professional. So in other words, by the end of the day, when we are seeing women rising to power, the next thing that we are thinking is it's a sexually driven promotion, when in actual fact, it is merit. So what is it that we are doing to redefine the norm? Then the women's labor policies, I think we have many, like the previous presenter has mentioned that there are many policies that are in place to try to address this gender gap or to try to protect women. And what is lacking is the implementation. And I think he submitted to us that at least if we are going to implement 75% of what we have agreed or what we have tabled, we are in a position to at least address the challenges faced by women. So in South Africa, for example, the Employment Equity Act, it mandates gender equality reporting, promoting fair labor practice, and ensuring equal opportunity for women in their workplace. In Sweden, I have decided just to benchmark with other countries. So in Sweden, Sweden's pay transparent laws have successfully reduced gender pay gaps, and encouraging organizations to adopt equitable compensation practice for all employees. So what are the policy intervention for women? So I think we said there must be equal pay, and this is critical. And what the member state is supposed to do, number one, I think there must be some monitoring and mechanism, some audits institutional audit to ensure that women are represented and are fairly remunerated. Then in terms of the child support, we have to provide child care subsidies, enables workers, mothers to balance family responsibility and increase their participation in the labor market. Entrepreneurship fund, establish funds for women and entrepreneurs. And may I submit to us, ladies and gentlemen, in some countries, this provision or facility is there. But at times it is highly politicized. It targets a few individuals who are pro a certain political party. And as a result, the gender gap continues. It continues. So I think there is need for us to harmonize, for us to achieve equality. Then the youth transition into the labor market. I appreciate the submissions made by DRC Member of Parliament when he mentioned that close to between 20 to 40,000 youth are exiting universities. They are joining the job market. And out of those, only 10% are employed. The question is there value for education? Why are we going to school? What is wrong in the education sector? What is wrong in the curriculum? What should be addressed so that by the end of the day, a graduate will find a job? Let me just say, before I go deeper into my presentation, in Botswana, for example, you'd find out that some youth, they are in university not because they want to be in the university, but there is that allowance. They want that allowance. Is it that we really educating our children for? We want them to work, but because there is no decent work out there, they remain in school. So in Botswana, I talked about the regional youth employment case where the Botswana Youth Fund, which provide financial support and training to empower youth entrepreneurship, fostering sustainable business development and job creation. In Germany, there's dual vocational training system, which equips youth with practical skills, significantly reducing unemployment rates and enhancing workforce readiness in various sectors. So what are the policy intervention? So number one, we talk about apprenticeship. You'd find out that there is some transformation in our member states where the focus is on the university degree other than the vocational. So I submit to members of the states that they must actually implement apprenticeship program that can significantly enhance youth employability by providing hands-on experience with various industrial and career paths. And I think this point has been presented yesterday where we said we have to make sure that our member state must try to incentivize those companies or those institutions that hires graduates or youth by maybe reducing their or giving them some tax incentives to encourage them to create more jobs for the youth, to encourage them to absorb more youth. And this one, yes, in as much as we talk about it, start up for financing. Youth, for example, in South Africa, they have access to startup financing. I'm actually giving an example, but almost maybe most other countries, they're actually doing the same. But there is a challenge again in the access to this startup financing. Yes, we give them money to start up their business, but how sustainable is their business? and what support mechanisms are in place to ensure that that money they receive from government institutions is used or is actually directed for the intended purpose. Then labor exploitation, this is key. Zimbabwe, for example, they have some bilateral relationship with Rwanda at one point where they export some teachers to Rwanda. And I think SADC members, they must actually come up with policies to export many of our youth to the aging, to countries with aging population. And we must also be very, very careful about that. When we are exporting them, are we not abuse? Maybe, you know what, they may actually take advantage of us, those countries, but what mechanism are in place to protect our youth from being abused or exploited? Then research and innovation grants. South Africa, I think, is one of the country in our SADC region where the grants and the scholarship programs are there, postdoc programs, and I may actually want to challenge us all that in our various institutions, universities, we must also have a budget for the postdoc. South Africa, as we speak, it is the only country in the SADC region which housed a lot of graduates, postgraduate students. Why? Because of grants. Why many PhD students are going to South Africa? Because of the grant opportunity. If South Africa is doing it, we can, all of us do it. Why can't we just leverage on South Africa and tap on what they are doing? And based on that, we are in a position to promote sustainable research. As they research, there are also some opportunities that can come up. So then one other thing, our youth, I've heard many people talking about informal sector. And I ask myself to say, are we going to say, when we see someone who is selling airtime, we're selling some sweets along the road, is this what we call employment? Are we going to, is that person going to sustain that business to employ another person? Yes, indeed, it's a start. But I would like to challenge us, ladies and gentlemen, honorable ministers and the MPs, that agriculture, Africa, you are rich with your vast land, and also we are also receiving 24-hour sunlight, access to arable land, which our youth can be supported, and they will be in a position to produce food for Africa and food to the world. This is a venture, this is a low-hanging fruit our youth can leverage. So agro-entrepreneurship, we have to support agro-entrepreneurship among youth. And at times, though painful, though sound undemocratic, but we have to institute what we call command-based entrepreneurship. When we say command-based entrepreneurship, we are giving you resources as youth. As we give you resources, we want you to produce, and we monitor you. Because by the end of the day, we say we allocate you a piece of land. By the end of the day, what is it that you are doing with that piece of land? Are you growing grasses? We want food, not grasses. So by the end of the day, we have to make sure that we follow and monitor. And if you are not capable, we remove you. and what allocate that piece of land to what? To the able hands. And hence, as a result, we are going to make Africa a giant in terms of food. And it is also a platform where we create more jobs. Let me go back to Zimbabwe. When in our agriculture, even in South Africa knows very well that Zimbabweans who are in South Africa, most of them, they are in agriculture. Why agriculture? Even in Botswana, why agriculture? Because we need food every day. And hence, this is the opportunity. Governments, member states, this is a platform that we can curb or solve this systematic challenge of unemployment among our youth. So for elderly exclusion, may I submit to us that our older workers face significant barrier in the labor market, including limited job opportunities, discrimination, inadequate pension coverage in informal employment. So in the informal employment, you would find out that those schemes, they are not available. And may I also submit to us, member states, that at times in Zimbabwe, in those olden days, they used to have what we call, it was more of an informal education for those elderly people, more of, it was an informal education for those where they really want to empower or what you call it, they were teaching them about financial literacy. So if at times we have to make sure that our elderly, they are educated, you have to educate them on how to save money so that they have a better retirement life. So pension coverage in Africa, I said in OECD, the OECD benefits, the OECD offers nearly universal pension coverage, ensuring retirees have access to financial security and support during the old age. And in SADC challenge, SADC faces significant pension coverage gaps, especially for informal workers, limiting access to financial resources for the elderly population. And it's true, ladies and gentlemen, that in our countries, there are some people who may reach the retirement age before being formally employed. And what is it that we are doing to them to cater for their old age? South Africa, I think they also have an old age grant which is significantly reduces poverty among the elderly, providing crucial financial support to improve their quality of life. Namibia, it offers a universal pension scheme that ensures social protection, enhancing living standard of older citizens across nation. And Thailand, they also have the universal pension program, effectively reduce old age poverty, providing essential financial assistance to elderly individuals and promoting their social exclusion. I want to pose some question to the SADC protocol, honorable members. The first one is on women and youth. How can labor laws better protect women and informal workers, ensuring equal pay, legislation, and anti-harassment laws are effectively implemented? Then to our youth, what legislative reforms are needed to enhance youth employment, including skills development, apprenticeship, and startup financing to promote job creation? Then the last but not least is how can we integrate informal worker into pension scheme? I think this is very key. How can we integrate, because old age is coming? So how can we integrate the informal workers into pension scheme through universal pension and innovative micro pension scheme for lifelong security? Then as a region, what role should regional cooperation play in enhancing labor mobility agreements, and qualification recognition across SADC for cross-border employment opportunity. As I conclude, ladies and gentlemen, I tried to come up with a SADC inclusive labor ecosystem model that if we can, as SADC, implement this, we'll be in a position to redefine the face of Africa, redefine the face of SADC. So the first one, we talk about we have the policies, the labor rights and anti-discrimination laws. We also have the education and skills harmonization. I think we actually advocating, it has been throughout the day, the day one, day two, we've been talking about harmonization. So how can we harmonize our education so that the curriculum speaks to the needs of the industry? Then youth and women funding schemes, then elderly protection policies. So what are the strategic pillars? The first strategic pillars, ladies and gentlemen, honorable members, is TVET. May I submit to us that in academic space, doing a degree in accounting, for example, doing a degree in finance, for example, is good. But looking at the current setup or the current economic situation in our economies, we are not gonna employ accountants, all of us. For example, UB is actually graduating every year 350 accounting students. And how many companies do you really want to employ an accountant per year? Maybe about 5, they're only going to employ 10% of the 350, which means in the next cycle, we are going to add more. So I think TVET, the technical vocational education training, is very key. And may I challenge also, because I found out a compelling scenario, Zimbabwe. I think I'm told that they have the migration or the shift is now towards the university, like what I've highlighted. And they've nearly closed the vocational training. But this is the foundation for sustainable economic development of our nation. We can transform. He was mentioned, there is an honorable member of parliament who mentioned the Chinese flocking into Africa, doing our roads, doing everything. You know why? Because our youth are not doing the hands-on or these practical subjects, construction, building. They're not doing it. They're doing accounting, social work, which is, I'm not saying it's bad, but the majority of them must actually be devoted towards that one. And I think there must be a deliberate policy by our member state to say, for this particular module, module, we incentivize. South Africa, for example, is actually doing it, ladies and gentlemen, honorable members. They have a deliberate scholarship policy where they say, if you are doing these modules or this degree program, you are sponsored. Our members state, you can also do the same. Take this initiative and say, okay, fine, we want to promote engineers. Let's support them. Let's incentivize them so that we recruit men engineers who are going to construct our own roads for Africa, for us all. So TVET. Then I also said there must be industry-driven curriculum. There is a mismatch, ladies and gentlemen. Still mismatch. We as academic, what we are doing, we are busy. In fact, it's more of a competition. There is a educational entrepreneurship where universities, they are focusing on numbers, not their output to say what will happen after you graduate. Now I'm saying to us, ladies and gentlemen, honorable members, let's take a deliberate stance to really say, we want our graduates to be employed. So all the curriculum developments, we have to collaborate with the industry so that we hear, we listen to them, we co-create the agile programs that speaks to the dictates of the time or the needs of the now. Because at times we may continuously producing what graduates who are not compatible, who are unemployable. May I submit to this August House, ladies and gentlemen, that if we co-create, if we collaborate with the industry, we are in a position to address the gender gap, this unemployment gap. The entrepreneurship and innovation. South Africa, ladies and gentlemen, it is leading in terms of preaching the gospel of establishing the entrepreneurship hub. Let's go ye therefore in our nations, in our states, and establish the entrepreneurship hub so that the youth that whom we are saying we want to empower, we are giving them money. We are going to train them through those entrepreneurship hub. Let's preach that gospel, ladies and gentlemen, and it's doable. If we are really serious that we want to address this systematic challenge of youth unemployment. And and we have to do it now, because failure, our youth, you know, the problem that have been unpacked here of having unemployed youth. So if we are really serious, we have to promote entrepreneurship. Then I think I've covered about the labor mobility. May I submit to this honorable, to honorable ministers and honorable members of this house or the protocol, that indeed it is the solution starts from this room and from this protocol. We are in a position to address, number one, women challenges they are facing at workplace. I'm not saying, for example, let me just give an example. UZ, University of Zimbabwe, in those yesteryears, it used to say a female student who wanted to pursue law must have at least 12 points. And if you are a man, 15 points. It was a way of encouraging or promoting a girl child or a female child to pursue certain challenging degree programs. And we can actually make a deliberate move towards the same and achieve the goal of equality and equity. I thank you. I submit.
Thank you very much, Dr. Edmo, for that very, very packed presentation indeed. Before I let honorable members to intervene, you seem to be very ashamed of your achievement. Somebody with 2 PhDs, when he introduces himself, he leaves doctor. In his presentation, where he wrote his name, he did not put doctor. So I'm just wondering, but after listening to you, I actually realized that you're too polite. It's about humility. The way you've been addressing the issues, I did realize why you didn't put that. It looked very abnormal for me that you would have left that title out. Anyway, you really spoke to a lot of critical issues, and indeed issues that are very, very fundamental and very personal to all of us, not even some of us. When you talk about the issue of gender pay gap, And the good thing is you talk about it, also putting out there some hints into what causes that, and also some cautions that we should be careful in terms of how we approach the conversations around issues like gender pay gap. We should avoid falling into a trap of politicizing the matter and not looking at what the underlying issues around the gender pay gap may be. We should be very constructive as we engage the topic, be very true to the issues that are actually causing the gap, because that will help us to know what actually to address, what initiatives and strategies should be put in place that will be responsive and be able to close the gap. Because when we are very defensive about it and we don't want to speak to the real issues, it is going to be a phenomenon that exists and never gets to the point where we say we have achieved the issue. You talk about affirmative action, strategies and approaches when you were responding to the honorable member around youth not being in construction and everything. What are some of the strategies to encourage and incentivize youth to get into those areas? Similar approaches should be considered for the issue of gender pay gap. If we realize that the reason why we have gender pay gap is because there are a majority of men occupying positions, occupying fields and sectors that are more incentivized, that pay more versus women. That by itself already communicates to us what is it that we need to do. We should incentivize women pursuing such fields as well by making sure that it is conducive for them to be in those spaces without actually demonizing the fields that they tend to go for. And we need also even to go further to ask ourselves questions. Why is an engineer paid more than a nurse? Why? Because if we don't talk about those kind of things, we make certain people feel like nursing is less important, so I should pursue engineering because I'll get more money. Why don't we go to a point where we say nurses should get as equal amount of money as engineers so that people pursue their passions and not money? So these are things we need to be talking about, to say, are we pushing women to go into fields they may not naturally be interested in, but because they are going to financially empower them? Why not financially empower them in things that they naturally want to do? This is a very broad conversation. But the truth of the matter is, and things that we cannot even shy away from, women have to give up so much to achieve the very same thing a man has to achieve without any trade-off. These are realities we cannot avoid. To be a CEO, a woman in majority of the times has to give up an opportunity of having a family. She cannot afford to be away from the workspace for about 6 months raising a child. The race of being a CEO will just pass her. A man will achieve that and be able to have a family at the same time. These are realities we should confront. And once we are able to do that, we will be able to come up with true solutions to these challenges without actually turning them into political agendas or anything, but being very true about things, showing that there are differences between men and women. In achieving the similar thing, somebody has to let go something else. Then how do we make sure that her ambition is never going to be interrupted by her desire to have a family? Should her time away from work having a family be a disadvantage to her? We need to find solutions to make that not be the case. I'm not going to say much for a very long time, honorable members, because we want to close the meetings. But one challenge I want to throw out to our women in the room. In almost every country, every institution, every setting, women are most of the time a majority in population. Why, when we go out and vote for policymakers, why can't we use our power of majority to vote for women who will actually stand for what we need as women? Let's go out there, use our numbers, vote for women so that they can direct the policy making, so that they are the ones who are out there and can be able to build policies that are responsive to our needs, because men are making policies for women as it stands. But not living the fact that to be in a position to be voted for as a woman is a struggle by itself. So I want to speak to the reality of it. I want you to know you have power to do that, but let's not ignore the limitations that actually will allow you to be able to vote for a woman leader. To be eligible as a woman leader by itself has its own challenges to get to a point where you can even vote for her. But I'm saying, let us use our power of majority as women. Some of things that we face as challenges, let us confront them and be supportive of each other so that at the end of the day, we have people of best interests occupying positions of power. With that said, honorable members, I'm going to open the floor. Like I said, our resource persons are welcome to engage, not just the honorable members. I see Nyasha raising her hand. I forgot your name. Masling, honorable member from DRC, honorable member from Eswatini. I see deputy chair, and next to deputy chair is honorable member from Mozambique. I also see Madam, would you kindly shout your name so that we have you written down? From Lesotho. From Lesotho, your name is Lesotho. Okay. A lady from Lesotho will also be in. Okay. As it goes, let us have Nyasha start.
Thank you, Honorable Chair, and thank you, Dr. Mujay, for such a packed presentation. And I'm very much really interested by the discussion around issues to do with women as we conclude the Women's Month. This is a very topical issue. Yesterday, during lunch, I was talking about the new face of women exploitation. When we empowered our women, when we started the journey to women emancipation, empowerment, I feel we actually didn't look and think about how this women empowerment and emancipation is going to work. These days, what we have seen, especially being in a field where you are supposed to be a leader, you are supposed to be a mother, you're supposed to be a wife, you are supposed to be a daughter-in-law, we have seen that there are so many issues that we didn't look at. There is no person who is at the moment is stressed, overworked like a woman who is a leader, today. This woman is a leader, still contributing money to the household fiscus, still having to bear children, still having to do homework with the children, still have to be a daughter-in-law. Our African structures and our African gender roles, they are still there. And this person is required in the space where she's working to still provide leadership and guidance. That is also contributing to a certain new level of women exploitation. What we forgot to do is having conversation with men and with our communities to say, what is it going to look like when the woman is empowered? How are we going to support her in a family setting? How the husband is supposed to support, how the brother is supposed to support. We have overworked leaders. We have stressed women who are leaders because of the responsibilities they carry. in this August House, if I'm to ask the women that have received calls from their houses to say, what do we eat tonight? And she's here, and she still has to attend to that. We need money for that. Please send. She's working here. She's required to present. So a woman who is a leader is one person who is overworked and overwhelmed today. How can we make sure that in as much as our women are climbing the corporate ladder, they are still supported at home, they are still not overworked and depressed? Because there is something that is growing today that I'm calling the new face of women exploitation. The modern woman is tired, is a tired woman if we are not careful. Secondly, I want to speak to in terms of financing youth startups. There has been an issue across the countries where we are saying governments are providing loans or youth funds for young people to start their businesses. But if you look at the policies the policies and the system, the collateral that is required for a young person is out of reach for many young people. The young person who is coming out of school is required to provide collateral in form of a stand, in form of title deeds. Where is that young person going to get those? This person is coming out of school, is starting a business. So I would like to encourage honorable members in here to say, when we come up with policies to support our youth ventures, let's look at how can we make sure that the issue of collateral is addressed. And also at the same time, we know that these funds will be coming from banks. In as much as we want to give youth money, maybe without collateral, how are we also going to keep these banks and these already existing businesses afloat? Because that has been a challenge among youth. Not also to talk about the compliance issues and registration that Honorable Madikizela mentioned. It has been a challenge to young people. Let's also come up with policies that make these processes of compliance, youth ventures registration very easy for young people to employ others and to start something. With that, Honorable Chair, I so submit. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Nyasha, for bringing the life into the conversation. Given the number of participants who are willing to comment, I'm not going to have a lot to say to each one of the presentations. Doctor, they should be taking that. Marceline will be the next. Honorable member from DRC, prepare yourself after.
Thank you very much, Chair. Thank you, Doc, for this wonderful presentation. As I was listening, I saw that there is a great nexus between early childhood development and also women in enforcement or in labor forces. So you will see that there are some areas that are mostly on the side of the woman. If we are to look back home, you will see early in the morning, for us around 4 o'clock, a woman in the informal sector will be waking up and going to the market so that they can be able also to buy some commodities that they are going to sell within the communities. And they'll be carrying a baby back at the back of at the back. You will see that if we are not careful, we are affecting two areas. That is the early childhood development, learner, and also the woman himself. So at the same time, I was seeing that it will remain constrained, the woman labor force. It will be constrained, especially if we are to look at the Southern African countries, especially if we do not provide affordable and quality early childhood development services. This is very important. You will also see that if we do not have reliable child care services, many women, particularly mothers, in the informal sector, that's the one that we were mostly discussing about, that these are the areas that we mainly focusing on, especially if we are looking at the Southern African region. Women, they are into informal sectors, and if we do not penetrate and put some mechanisms in terms of childcare services, we will remain wanting, as highlighted, that of course we really need to put some of the things aside, and one person, whether it's a female or a male, is going to drop or is going to find out he is responsible or she is responsible for this task. And for us women, we know that it is our role sometimes to take care of these children. And it will remain, especially when we are looking at the African context. So with this, ECD is not only an education issue. If we are to look at the discussion that we are doing, it is also a labor and economic issue. It also contributes. So as I am going further, I just thought that the parliament needs to be urged to align women's labor forces or women labor policies that we have in place back there in our country and even at regional level to be aligned with the early childhood development provision by ensuring that there is also affordable early childhood centers or schools which are nearby work areas that we have, and even nearby any markets that we have, so that we can also accommodate these women that we are talking about, so that they can all not be left wanting. And also the second plea that we have, the parliamentarians to encourage or to make sure that there are some trainings that are done to these employed or qualified early childhood development caregivers that we have in our countries, that will really contribute more, because mothers will be there at their workforces, at their workplaces, and they will know and be comfortable knowing that their children are well taken care of, and there is a great contribution that is being done to their children. So I think it is also our role to make sure that these women that we have got decent jobs, and also that they push for what they intend to do in their lives, so that they can also contribute to our economies in our countries. I submit, Chair.
Thank you very much, Ms. Lynn, for the intervention. I will now move on to Honorable Member from DRC. Last time I asked that you introduce yourself by the name, but the way you were very passionate about the point you wanted to raise, you went straight into the point. So please start by introducing your name and then bring in your intervention. Thank you.
Honorable Président, merci beaucoup. Moi, c'est l'honorable professeur Célestin Ekoto, député national de la République démocratique du Congo. Honorable Président, je suis très content de l'exposé fait par docteur, mais je vais utiliser ma deuxième casquette, pas comme parlementaire, mais comme professeur d'université. Je venais de suivre certaines informations de la part d'un universitaire du Botswana, que les femmes, pour avoir le grade de professeur, doivent publier 55 articles. L'université n'a pas de sexe. L'université n'a pas de province ni de pays. Et si la dame doit, pour être promue au grade de prof, doit publier 55 articles, et les hommes, à l'université, il n'y a pas de discrimination. C'est la recherche. C'est le service à la nation. Je suis surpris qu'à l'université du Botswana, c'est pas parce que c'est ça l'univers. Pour être prof, il y a des critères. D'abord, l'université recrute les meilleurs étudiants qui terminent. Ils commencent la carrière comme assistant. il fait le master, il va en thèse, il défend sa thèse. Et dans certains systèmes, il fait même l'agrégation. Parce que là, je suis maître de conférence à Paris 13, Sorbonne, à Paris. Et l'expérience que j'ai de Paris, c'est que je trouve au Botswana, mais vous êtes à l'encontre de l'université. Ces critères ne peuvent pas exister. Bien sûr, quand on a la thèse, pour continuer, il faut la recherche, il faut des publications. Mais pourquoi pour les dames et pas pour les hommes? Ça, vraiment, vous devez corriger. Et je reviens maintenant pour une recommandation pour Madame la secrétaire générale de la SADC. Je crois qu'à ce niveau, il faudrait que la SADC puisse organiser les séries de connaissances, les échanges entre pays. C'est très important. Nous le faisons avec le Sénégal, le Bénin, le Cameroun, la Côte d'Ivoire. Les profs, nous allons en Côte d'Ivoire, au Sénégal, et aussi viennent pour ces échanges. Et je crois qu'au niveau de la SADC, on peut organiser ça. Je crois qu'avec l'UNISA et autres, ça serait quand même intéressant. Mais je reviens parce que, au mois de la femme, en République démocratique du Congo, la ministre de l'enseignement supérieur universitaire, c'est une dame. Éducation nationale, c'est une dame. Première ministre, c'est une dame, même si j'étais contre sa nomination. Parce qu'il y a trop de femmes au gouvernement. Personnellement, j'étais contre ça, contre le président. Mais je trouve que, au niveau de la SADC, si nous pouvons avoir ces échanges universitaires, ça serait intéressant. Mais je suis là, avant de partir, je vais quand même visiter votre université où je ne suis pas d'accord avec ce système où les femmes doivent publier autant d'articles pour devenir prof. Pourquoi? La science n'a pas de sexe, n'a pas de famille, n'a pas de région, n'a pas de pays. Si vous tenez compte de cet aspect des choses-là, vous êtes en dehors de la plaque. Merci beaucoup.
Thank you very much, Honorable Solestan. I think I got it a bit this time. The next, we are going to have Honorable member from Eswatini. And then they will be followed by Honorable member from Zimbabwe, Deputy Chair.
Thank you, Chair. I want to start by appreciating the presentation from our able doctor. And looking at his credentials, indeed, he should be a professor. You know, by now, maybe you need to consider that, my brother, because you are well learned. Congratulations for that. And secondly, I do want to congratulate him for such a well-articulated presentation. It covered a lot of areas, and I was quite pleased by the fact that a man is advocating for women. Also, Chairperson, I want to thank you for the comments you made when you started, because most of the time you find that women are the ones speaking for themselves, but when you have men who are he's for she's, it really is heartwarming. Chairperson, with that said, I do want to also add my voice to the issue of women empowerment. Women empowerment is something that every country talks about, but in the African context, it is a reality. And I think Nyashi said it well when she spoke about the fact that women are overworked and underpaid. And Nyashi, you didn't talk about the issue of conjugal rights, hey? Because after having done everything, you still need to continue and do all of that. And I'm not saying women don't have sexual needs, but most of the time it's really an issue of a balancing act. And to a very large extent, the men stand to benefit. I was talking to someone one time in the plane, and they were saying marriage was meant for men. And you know, I remember when you talk about the colonialization that happened in Africa, how there was a meeting where they were looking at how they will divide the continent and how they will benefit. So I do believe that there was a meeting somewhere where women, where men said, okay, how do we deal with this? But that is just on a very lighter note. On a more serious note, I do want to also say that There certainly is also going to the youth conversation. There also is a mismatch of skills and market demands. And from the presentation, I did see that the whole issue of unemployment is largely influenced by that. And I do want to say that everything, no matter how good the concept is, if you're not able to say by who, by when, then it won't happen. So I do wish for us as we come out of this conference to say really who amongst our ministries should be responsible for managing the mismatch between the market demands and what goes into our education systems. I was also quite pleased when the presenter spoke about TVET. In the Kingdom of Eswatini, that's also a solution that we are looking at to address the issue of youth unemployment, which is also affecting us in a big way. We also have in the Kingdom of Eswatini youth funds which support entrepreneurship for the young people. But then again, it's a loan, it's not a grant. Because I mean, you need to also teach the young people how to act responsibly from a finance management perspective. And then we also have an entrepreneurship program at grassroots level, which seeks to instill a sense of entrepreneurship from primary school to high school. And they also compete internationally through the Junior Achievement Program, and the young people of Eswatini are doing quite well on that. We also have cooperatives that have been infused into the Junior Achievement Program, wherein young people are taught how to handle and manage their finances at a very tender age, and they teach them the culture of saving from a young age so that they're able to handle finances and manage their businesses quite effectively as they grow up. And then I also do want, in closing, to just talk about women in the corporate world. I've been a CEO before. I rose through the ranks, but it was not easy. And I do want to say that with women, we have to work like not even twice as hard, because when you get back home, you still have to take care of the homework for the children. You really you get overworked, like what Nyashi was saying. And the other disadvantage that women have in the workplace is the fact that they need to they are not able to have good networking opportunities and platforms at an equal level as men. And I will qualify this. The reason why I'm saying this is that men go to clubs, to pubs, they go to golf courses for networking, and they really support each other in that regard. So with women, the time of going to, women don't go for drinks after work, you know, because traditionally we have to go and take care of our children. So now that poses a not so plain, playing field between our male counterparts and the women. And although I have said all of that, I think we do need to put in place policies that really support women empowerment, because as it is now, it's more talk than really walking the talk as policymakers. We need to put in place policies that will support women. Also, someone was also talking about issues of early childhood development centers. In Eswatini, for instance, we have companies who have on-site childcare facilities for women so that they're able to breastfeed, they're able to go and take care of their children and still continue with their work. And I think we need to put in place policies of that nature if we really are going to be supporting the whole women empowerment agenda. And there's also the issue of sexual harassment in the workplace. It is a reality that the workplace is male dominated, and most of the people who make decisions are males.
you know. So if we could make sure that in the workplaces, we really act on issues of sexual harassment and we take it seriously. The problem there again is that women are not even encouraged to go and say, I've been sexually harassed, because when you look at the journey that you have to go through, you have to now start talking about what happened, how it happened, and that really affects the woman emotionally and psychologically and otherwise. And then in closing, Chair, I do want to say, oh no, I have spoken about the early childhood development centers. Chair, I submit, and I do want to appreciate the presentation once again. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Linda. Honorable members, especially the male ones in this room, I think it's high time that we advocate for abolishment of marriage. I think it's high time. Otherwise, we are never gonna win this one. We should get to a point where we say, oh no, don't get married. But anyway, honorable members, one thing that keeps coming in the conversations is that achievement by itself, by nature of achievement, is expensive. Achievement by itself is expensive. To get it, there are things you have to let go. There are things you have to compromise. There are things you have to trade off. I'm pretty sure even you, doctor, to get those 2 PhDs, there is one of your classmates that lived a life you so wished to live, but you had to let go certain things to achieve that. So we should not remove the essence of that in our conversation, which is what the professor said. Let us not allow to compromise quality or competence through affirmative action. Affirmative action should serve the purpose of trying to level the playing field, but not compromising on the outcome that we want to achieve. So we should be very careful as we do these things. It is with good heart. We want to make sure that nobody's left behind, nobody's disadvantaged, only just because their identity is different from the next person. That is what the affirmative action should work towards. But at the same time, it should not now lead to a lesser competent outcome or a lesser quality of a certain thing only because we wanted to just balance numbers. It is not a matter of numbers. It's a matter of making sure that everyone is given an equal opportunity, supported extra where it needs to be. And that is the concept of equity. Equity says this person may need just one step to be supported to achieve this similar thing. The other one may need 2 steps to be supported to achieve the similar thing. So let us support our women. Let's empower them, give them resources that will enable them within circumstances that they go through to still be able to achieve what is the aspiration. Honorable members, I will move on to an intervention from honorable member from Zimbabwe, Honorable Deputy Chair.
Oh, thank you so much, Chair. And I would also want to appreciate, because I've noticed that our Chair has got passion with women and young people. And thank you very much, Chair, for that. And I would like to thank our presenter. And I shared lunch yesterday with him. He has got passion with women. And it's like when he was sharing his own story, that he is a baby of 4 girls, is it? Yeah. He's a father of 4 girls. And Senator Linda was talking about, don't you like, do you still want to have a child, a boy child? Said, no. It's enough. I like that as it is. And I'm proud of my girls. So he's an advocate for the issue of gender equality, and I appreciate you. Thank you so much for that. And I would like also to share my experience and what we are also doing as a nation in Zimbabwe. Safe to say, on the 21st of February, the commemoration of the 21st movement The theme was empowering youth through innovation, skills development, and industrialization towards the Vision 2030. And with this, people are moving towards the issues of investing in vocational training centers so that we also encourage our youth. And we are also moving away from the issue of just empowering them with small issues, but we are focusing more on the issue of helping them to move from job seeking to job creation through these vocational training centers, investing in agriculture and in entrepreneurship. So if we invest in these young people, obviously our nation will also grow, especially in digital market. Let me also go to the issue of gender equality and the way you mentioned about the issue of women, where you feel that women are constituting the majority of our nations, but we are not voting for each other. And you want the reason why we are not voting for each other. The reasons are very clear. We have got the issue of patriarchy. The way things were from the beginning, obviously the gap is there, and it's not easy to fill the gap of 20, 30, 40, 50 years like now. Yes, we are in the 21st century, but that gap already, which was created by our mothers, to say a girl child will stay home doing the duties at home and the boy child will go to secondary level. If you check, our mothers did not even go for secondary level, but their brothers went for those secondary levels. So the gap is already there in terms of empowering or in terms of gender empowerment. So we need to help women. Whether we like it or not, the gap is there. And to close that gap, this is where we are talking of affirmative action. This is where we are saying this gap cannot be closed by election alone. This gap has to be maybe narrowed with the issue of gender equality and affirmative action. We can go, for example, in Rwanda. The reason why we have got more women in parliament in Rwanda is not because they voted for each other. It's because that country have realized that there is a gap. And for us to narrow the gap, what are we supposed to do? We are now supposed to go for the proportional representation, where we are going to go for the zebra system, where we are going to also promote women, because those women, if we are not going to put those policies, obviously we will not get there. Talk, for example, for Botswana. The whole parliament have got only 6 women. 6 women. Does that mean women out there are not capable? If you talk of corruption, women are less in terms of corruption. Men are the most corrupt people in Africa. I'm telling you, because the statistics are there.
Careful.
Order, Chair. Mr. Chairman, I'm speaking this with experience. Yeah, and you know our political terrain is not conducive for women. You talk of the elections, whether within our party or after the political, the internal processes. It's not easy for a woman in Africa to contest as a member of parliament. You talk of violence, you talk of sexual harassment. Even in our parliament, sexual harassment is happening. So what of in our workplaces? So the conducive, the environment is not leveled for women. The environment is not conducive. So we need policies where we can try to raise women from where they are to at least to a higher level. Because even if I ask men in this house, their mothers, comparing to their fathers, most of their fathers, they were educated. Their mothers, they did not. Even if you go back to Zimbabwe, this is where we were now having the adult literacy. If you check that adult literacy program, you can bear with me, Doc, it was not even for men. It was meant for women who did not even attend school when they were supposed to go to school. So the issue is our men must bear with us, and we need champions. for what do we call the he for she. Those who are saying, let's walk side by side. This is where we can talk. Our member, our speaker in Zimbabwe is a champion for he for she. So we need men who are going to champion for us, for your daughters, for your grandchildren, so that they will also understand. You go for the culture, you go for religion. They are not, there are even churches, even in Zimbabwe, who are not even allowing women to be pastors. We have got culture which does not even allow women to be chiefs. So we are still lagging behind. So it's not because we don't want, it's because of the culture, because of patriarchy. So you must bear with us and say, yes, in as much as you are saying, why are you not voting for each other? We want to vote for each other, but men comes around with money and they will buy even those women to say, vote for us. And you know, where there is money, people will think of their stomach rather than politics. So the children, they will think about their children to say, if I get money from Honorable Madikizela, then I will go back home and feed my children. So the level is not leveled for women, and the environment is not conducive up and until we believe that men and women, we are equal in terms of the issue of gender equality and gender mainstreaming. So bear with us. We need more policies and policies. We can talk of even South Africa, where you are now, the issue of voting. I think they use proportional representation where they vote for the party, which is very good because they will go for zebra system. But if you go for these other countries, obviously they are lagging behind, because if there is money and there is a position, people will go for money rather than a position. But if you talk of us, for example, our debates in parliament, you believe there are women who are good debaters than men. They are. So we are supposed to encourage our young girls to also encourage themselves to get into the political arena and also try to fight for their rights. The last thing is, Mr. Chairman, we have got issues of policies where I think we must also give an example of Rwanda. I'm sorry to continue to go to that because I went there and I was also encouraged. You know, they've got incentives for companies who employ more women. So I think if we have these policies in our nations, people will start also to believe in women, and also people will start to support women, because these women, they can, and they can also lead. The last one is in the universities, my doctor. I think you must also do a paper, because we are having children, we are having girls who are complaining about the issue of sexual harassment, whereby the lecturers are also proposing to these young girls. And when the young girl says, I don't want, or I'm not interested, then she's not going to pass her exam. So I think you need to go deeper into that and also help these young ladies, because they report, but after they report, the school authorities will go and support the lecturer, because they say you don't even have evidence. So my last words is, we need champions for he, for she, so that we also go side by side, because we vote for you, you must also vote for us, and also encourage people to vote for women, because women are organizers. They can do anything. They can do home things. They can do business issues. They can do everything. Thank you so much for supporting women.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Deputy Chair. Honorable members, this is a very engaging topic indeed, what we are discussing here. We also do plead to have champions for she, for him. The boy child is starting to have some issues here and there. So let us also, not leave him behind, so that we do not reverse, the gains that we have had with women empowerment. We want to sustain them and not end up, flipping the entire coin. because the objective is to get to a point where we have equality, we have equity, and we are able to look at each other as partners in, trying to achieve the development of our countries, our families, our workplaces. But we cannot deny the historical fact about women and the struggles that they have gone through. Honorable members, let us try to be as short and precise as possible in the interest of time, so that we end up enjoying some extra time after our session. We had an honorable member from Mozambique who will be then followed by our participant from Lesotho. And then we will have honorable member from Botswana, and there will be a comment that will be read from participant online, so that we do not forget about them. We are not alone. We have other members joining us virtually. Honorable member from Mozambique.
Agradeço, senhor presidente, por me conceder a palavra. E também vou juntar-me aos colegas que me antecederam, saudar o nosso preletor por nos trazer esse tema de extrema importância para a nossa região. São assuntos que afetam quase toda a nossa região. Ninguém está fora disso. Mas quero aqui dizer que, numa das vezes, a desigualdade salarial, ela acontece alimentada, muitas das vezes, por baixo nível de escolaridade concentrado nas mulheres. Outro fator também aliado a algumas normas culturais, umas que foram referenciadas aqui com a minha colega que me antecedeu do Zimbábue, limitando as mulheres, muitas das vezes, a enverdarem por setor informal e agricultura. E mesmo no setor informal, essas mulheres têm enfrentado vários desafios. A falta do acesso ao crédito e a falta da proteção efetiva, a falta da proteção legal efetiva. Dizer que Moçambique, o meu país, tem estado engajado no empoderamento da mulher, na igualdade do gênero, combatendo a violência baseada no gênero, promovendo a independência econômica das mulheres, apoiando por iniciativas como focado na educação da rapariga, na saúde sexual, acesso ao microcrédito e na participação em matérias de liderança, visando também a reduzir as uniões prematuras. Muito obrigado, senhor presidente.
Thank you very much, honorable member. Let us now have our colleague from Lesotho, and kindly introduce your name so that we are able to refer to you in the right manner.
Thank you very much. And thank you very much, Doctor, for your presentation. Before I want to say my views, may I please read the following resources that are found in Southern Africa.
Your name, please. Your name.
Oh, so apologies. My name is Shosho Mofokeng. I am from Lesotho. I am representing NEGDOL. In Southern Africa, we have the following resources: water, saffron, cannabis, hemp, wool and mohair, as well as petroleum. We never really talk about these resources. Most of the time, we are always focusing on rare minerals because the developed countries are interested in those. But we also have these resources in like a lot of them, and we usually export them as raw resources. So you indicated that our skills are misaligned. 2 weeks ago, I was on Facebook, as I'm actively there, and they asked, and there was a post at Lesotho Highlands Water Development Project that is happening. And people were surprised that somebody from the US was hired to be an engineer. And somebody just made a post and said, how many engineers do we have here in Lesotho? We even had people from Zimbabwe, Zambia, indicating that we applied for that position, but we were not shortlisted. So I am saying I do not necessarily think that we have misaligned skills. But what we need to do is we need to also decolonize workplaces and industries. Let me make an example. If you go to my country right now and try to open a factory, it will be a hassle for you to even be provided with a shelter, those factories. But if a Chinese or a foreign national goes to Lesotho, they are considered to be an investor. So we need to also, we have worked on decolonizing education, but now maybe we need to start decolonizing industries, because with these resources that I have mentioned here, very few Africans are engaged in those resources. Very few even know what saffron is and how expensive saffron is. Very few Africans know that hemp, we can actually produce clothes from hemp and stop importing cotton from outside Africa. So we need to really look into decolonizing industrialization, because I do not think we lack skills that we say are not there. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Meshoshe Mufokeng. And yes, you became a bit unconventional from what we are discussing, but you actually spoke to the truth of what we are facing. The way we take ourselves, the way we think of ourselves as Africans is one of the problems that we have. We have an attitude towards ourselves, able to do the very same activity that somebody from outside can do, but we glorify it when it is done by somebody from outside. And the realities that she's mentioning about Lesotho are indeed true. So perhaps we need to do a lot with mindset change on how we actually approach each other. At this point, I would want to invite honorable member from Botswana, who is the last in the room, and then we will have a comment read from a participant online. Honorable.
Lambora Zikotkanagisu Ambasha Zingana. I thought I will interpret for you, ladies and gentlemen. It's a language that does not exist. I wanted to just give a bit of a smile. Thank you. I'm Shimamona Kheng, a member of parliament in Botswana, in Molepolole to be specific. The lady, my sister there, talked of women being good organizers, and I fully agree with her. But it surprises that women, in many countries are large in numbers compared to men, but they are unable to vote themselves into power. There's a bit of jealousy, there's this and that. But we are sometimes blamed as men for the inability to support one another. In Botswana, the government is trying very much to come up with various initiatives and programs to support women. Gender-based violence legislation and we are implementing programs which address the GBV. As we would remember, those who probably know a bit about Botswana, we do have the Minister of Youth, Gender Affairs, being a young lady in her early 30s. And this is a lady who has been, making waves in Botswana. She was Miss Botswana in 2022, Miss World Africa in 2024, and she also became number 4 at Miss World 2023. A very young lady, as a beauty queen, tall. Sometimes when she gets into parliament, I think she forgets that she's in parliament. She'll be, showing us a bit of what she has done in these competitions. And when we talk of, women empowerment, sometimes we need to be touching on economic empowerment. And in Botswana, there are programs that support women entrepreneurs with business and management skills and funding. We also have to have leadership development. Women in Botswana hold about 35% of senior management positions in Botswana, outperforming, I think, most of African and global averages. Also, we can't forget the issue of education and training. We have, initiatives that equip women with skills to improve their businesses and access markets. Also, we do address GBV. The government is working to reduce it through socio-economic empowerment, research, and education. But like I said earlier on, the issue is with the ladies, with the women themselves. I think if in gatherings like this, you encourage one another to support women, you will definitely reach positions that you are looking for. Someone mentioned that there are 6 women in parliament, and that's parliament of more than 60 members of parliament. Huh? Oh, 69, thank you very much. Oh, you're in Botswana? Oh, you know better than me. Yeah, 69 and only 6 ladies. Who is to blame? I think the ladies themselves, the women themselves, because they don't vote each other into power. They belittle themselves. All the facts that have been put forward there, that sometimes a lady has to go, for maternity leave and all that. The country has arranged that. So there's no excuse that because I'm a lady, I have to go for maternity leave and this and that. So I conclude by saying women must wake up, support one another, and they will get into power, they will get into parliament, they will get to positions that they wish to get to. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable. Like I said earlier, we are having very critical discussions on this issue, and I just beg that we do understand and try by all means not to personalize it, but rather be very objective as we discuss these issues. Somebody saying something that you may fundamentally not agree with should not necessarily be a personal attack, should not necessarily be that they are wrong. They have a view that may actually be different from yours. But what is important is for us to continuously engage each other, continuously interrogate our ways of thinking, because our ultimate goal is one, to have a population of Africans who are empowered, to have our women empowered and capable to actually take leadership responsibilities and roles. Honorable members, we have a participant online who really would want to register their comments. We are going to have the committee secretary here read it through so that we also are aware what other people are thinking. And then after that, we'll have Madam SG close this conversation for us. We are still able to engage each other even beyond this room for any further discussions that we may want to have. For the interest of time, we want to wrap up the business of the day. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. I'll read the comment from Thanks Chivuri. So he says, they say, my name is Thanks Chivuri, representing Zimbabwe Youth for Impaired Persons Trust in partnership with SAYWHAT. Mine is rather a contribution to all areas covered. We are here discussing the resilient and inclusive human capital of our region. I want to be clear, in the eyes of many youth with disabilities, that human capital is currently being wasted and not being fully utilized. The SADC Protocol on Education and Training and the 2023 Protocol on Employment and Labor are monumental steps. However, a young person with an impairment, as a young person with an impairment, the bridge between education and employment is broken. First, on education, we must move beyond enrollment statistics to meaningful quality. If our TVET institutions remain physically and digitally inaccessible, we are setting our youth up for failure before they even enter the job market. Accessibility is not a luxury, it is a prerequisite for education. Second, on employment, the 2023 Employment Protocol is a strong legal instrument, but it needs teeth. We are calling for the adoption of mandatory disability inclusive hiring quotas across SADC member states. Furthermore, we must incentivize employers to move past the disability premium, the fear that hiring someone with a disability is too costly. Governments should lead by creating access to work funds that directly subsidize the reasonable accommodations such as specialized software or transport that allow a young person to shine in the workplace. Finally, on accountability, you cannot manage what you do not measure. Currently, youth with disabilities are invisible in our national labor data. I urge this forum to mandate the standardization of disability disaggregated data in all regional labor workforce surveys. Without this, we remain invisible in your budget allocations and development plans. Honorable members, let us move from vulnerability to viability. Youth with disabilities are not just a group to be protected. They are partners waiting for you to help in removing barriers so that they can also fully contribute as taxpayers, innovators, and leaders. There is need to ensure that implementation of these protocols is not just a desk-bound administrative task, but a lived reality for the youth of Zimbabwe and the entire SADC region. I thank you. That was the submission.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Munashi. Honourable members, you had such a powerful comment from our youth. And I think one key takeaway that I just took from what is written there, you cannot manage what you cannot measure. These Okay, so I was just saying that statement by itself relates a lot with what we have been discussing, honorable members. We are discussing the issue of gender pay gap. How big is it? So that we can know how to manage it. knowing the magnitude of the issue will be very helpful in knowing what strategies to be put in place in order to address that. When we talk about, the Honorable Deputy Chair talked about, the historical issues that have left so many women behind. As we continue, as years move, how is the gap closing? Is it a gap that never closes regardless of the efforts that have been made? How big is it now? How many years can we give ourselves to actually work on closing this gap? Because one day we need to get to a point where we say we have done incredible efforts and we have been able to achieve 1, 2, 3 in reducing the gap. So these are things that should not be topics that never come to an end or to a close. Yes, things are evolving, new challenges are coming, are being born, but we need to get to a point where some of the things we are able to achieve results on. So I thought that was a very insightful statement from our youth online. At this point in time, honorable members, I'm going to invite Madam Secretary General to also put through her comments. And with that, we are going to be closing the session of the day, and we then can be able to go explore Botswana. Thank you. Madam SG.
Thank you, Chair. Now that we are closing, I will not say much, but Prof, thank you very much for your research and sharing your analysis in terms of where we could begin to look at the low-hanging fruits in this regard. Mine is a simple issue. For you, I would like for you to, as you conclude, and as maybe honorable members and participants conclude, to imagine this scenario where you have a cake made out of 26 slices. Out of the 26 slices, you give 25 to 5 families, and you give the 1 slice to 1 million families. What would happen? And I'd like for you to look at this in the context of how patriarchy shapes the political landscape, including that of voting. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Madam SG. Doctor, we just want to give you an opportunity if there are any particular comments that have been made that you would want to just respond to. Not all, we have bombarded you with so much information. If there are any specific and particular ones, 1 or 2 of them, and then we can close.
Okay, thank you so much, honorable members and ladies and gentlemen. I'm actually challenged with your contributions that are coming, and I think we are in a position to empower fully women. May I submit to this August House that in terms of increasing the number of women in our in politics, there is only one key ingredient, and I submit to us that if we are going to create a political ecosystem which is conducive, we will be in a position to achieve that objective. Because what I've discovered, honorable members, ladies and gentlemen, is that women at times they fear to be in politics because of naming. They are being given names. I remember one of my sisters, she wanted to join politics. I'm sorry to use this word. They said, you want to be their girl in courts. And she retreated. which means we need to sensitize our communities. We have to really redefine the mindset or the patriarchal mindset in us. Because if we are not going to do that, women will remain underrepresented. And may I just say my last comment is also on the promotion. My point of departure, Zimche, for example, SAYWHAT, for example, BQA, for example, they came up with the standards to say if you want to be a senior lecturer or a professor, these are the standards. May I recognize you, my professor? I respect you, your comments. In our field, we have also to respect our elders. Thank you, my prof. But my point is here is that the bar is too high for someone who is going for maternity leave. She's going to for maternity leave 3 months, and us will be busy writing, we'll be busy researching, we'll be busy attending conferences, and those are some of the criteria our universities are using. And my point is that I'm not saying let's lower their standards. No. But I'm saying let's now give them enough support when they maybe come back from their maternity leave, and let's collaborate with them, because it's about publications. Let's collaborate with them. And when we collaborate with them, we are helping them. We are actually making sure that they are part and parcel of the leaders. And if we are going to say, I'm going to collaborate with men, there is a challenge. Let's collaborate with them. Let's write papers with them. Let's do joint project with them. Let's do the grant application with them. And hence, it will be a very equitable and equitable environment for us all, very inclusive. I thank you. I submit. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Doctor, for the responses. Honorable members, at this moment, I would request your indulgence for me to present closing remarks for our 3-day engagement, and after which now we'll officially call our sitting to a close. Thank you.
This has gone too high now. Yeah. This is good, I think. Okay. Thank you very much. The Vice Chairperson of the committee, Honorable Karenyi, honorable members of the Standing Committee, the Secretary General, Her Excellency, Ms. Boemo, the staff of the SADC Parliamentary Forum and National Parliaments who are with us, representatives of the SADC Secretariat, the distinguished representative of international non-governmental organizations, civil society and academia, who presented us with a lot of valuable presentations, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen. As we draw the curtain on this 3-day statutory meeting, I'm filled with a profound sense of gratitude and, more importantly, a renewed sense of purpose. We came to Gaborone at the beginning of this week, tasked with a weighty responsibility of scrutinizing the SADC Protocol on Education and Training of 1997 and the SADC Protocol on the Employment and Labor of 2023, and to chart a way forward for our region. I stand before you today confident that we have not only met the task, but we have exceeded it. When I delivered the opening remarks, I spoke of these two protocols as two sides of the same coin of human capital development. Over the past 3 days, through our closed sessions and most notably through the powerful submissions by the citizens and the partners alike, that coin has been turned over. It has been examined and its true value has been laid bare to all of us. Honorable members, you can attest that what we had was both harrowing and very hopeful. We listened to educators who spoke of classrooms without books and children who cannot read. We heard from young people themselves who spoke of the frustrations of holding qualifications that lead them to nowhere. We listened to trade unions and employer organizations who laid bare the stark mismatch between the skills of young people and the demand of rapidly evolving labor market. And perhaps most moving of all, we had the voices of the civil society and community representatives who painted a vivid and at times heartbreaking pictures of the social crisis that fester in the absence of opportunity. Drugs and substance abuse continue to claim our youth. Gender-based violence terrorizes our women, and child marriages unnecessarily rob our girls of their future. But we also heard stories of hope. We learned of innovative programs that are equipping young people with tangible skills. We heard of social protection schemes from different countries, however modest, that are reaching the most vulnerable. We learned of parliamentarians in the very same room who have held their executives to account, who have pushed for greater budget allocations and have championed the domestication of these protocols in their respective national parliaments. Ladies and gentlemen, it would be remiss of me not to mention that the expert submissions from our partners and the citizens were a testament to the democratic ethos of this forum. When we opened our doors to citizens, civil society, and academia, we gave a voice to the voiceless. We demonstrated that oversight is not a solitary act performed by a few, but a collective endeavor that draws strength from the very people we sought to represent. The evidence we have gathered here, both oral and written, will form the bedrock of our advocacy and oversight work for years to come. Additionally, honorable members, I was particularly motivated by the evident agency we placed on addressing the demographic dividend. The young people in the region are not a problem to be managed. However, they are an asset to be nurtured. But as we have heard, an asset that is not invested in becomes a liability. We must therefore return to our parliaments with a renewed commitment to ensure that education budgets are increased and that those budgets translate into tangible improvements in learning outcomes. We have also grappled with the challenge of informal economy. The figure of over 70% informality must be a shot that jolts us into action. We have agreed that our governments must shift their mindset from viewing informal sector as a problem of control to seeing it as an opportunity for growth, and hence providing necessary support and protection. The testimonies we have heard confirm that with the right policies, access to finance, skill development, and social protection, this sleeping giant can be awakened to drive our industrialization and reindustrialization agenda from ground up. Honorable members, we also took a long and a hard look at ourselves and our role as parliamentarians. The questionnaires that guided our country briefing papers and presentations reminded us of fundamental duties we bear. We are the agents of ratification, and we must go back and push our governments to complete the foundational steps where it is pending. We are the drivers of domestication. tasked with translating these protocols into enforceable national laws that protect our children and empower our workers. And we are the guardians of oversight, armed with evidence from these hearings to ask the tough questions about budget allocation, program implementation, and institutional coordination in our national parliaments. Honorable members, distinguished guests, as we prepare to depart Gaborone, let us not forget that our work has only just begun. The real test of this meeting will not be measured by the quality of our deliberations or the eloquence of our report. It will be measured by the actions we take when we return to our respective parliaments. It will be measured by the legislation we pass, the budgets we scrutinize, the questions we ask, and the lives we change. In closing, may I extend my heartfelt gratitude to the SADC Parliamentary Forum Secretariat under the able leadership of Her Excellency the Secretary General for the impeccable organization of this meeting. To the interpreters, the technical team, and all the staff who worked tirelessly behind the scenes, we owe you a debt of gratitude. Our partners from SADC Secretariat, the international non-governmental organization, the civil society, the academia, the media, thank you for enriching our deliberations with your expertise and your passion. You have reminded us that the work of human and social development is a collective endeavor that transcends with the walls of Parliament. The honorable members of this committee, I cannot thank you enough for your dedication and commitment to the people of this region. Finally, and most importantly, to the citizens of SADC region who took the time to share their stories through organizations, those who joined us online, through their representatives who appeared before us, we hear you. We see and we will carry voices with us as we return to our parliaments. With these words, honorable members, I declare this statutory meeting of the committee officially closed, and I wish you safe travels back to your respective countries. Thank you very much.
Honorable members, we are going to give a quick announcement before we depart the room. One particular one is I've been given a key here. There is a member that has left their key outside. It's Madam SG. Thank you very much. The next announcement, honorable members, is I think I will just do this one simply by allowing the honorable member from Botswana. He has a suggestion to invite honorable members to some event in exploring Botswana after this session. Honorable, would you just take a few minutes just to invite honorable members and perhaps to clarify what the event is? Just a few minutes.
Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. Since we have been in Botswana for some days and we have just been stuck here at the hotel, there's an opportunity for you to explore the country, especially on musical side. We have a jazz joint. Those who like jazz, those who like the right music for your age, for people of your age. There's a jazz joint not far from here that plays good music, some jazz, and it's free of charge entrance. Also, you'll find people of your age, not your children, not your nieces. It's also kind of traditional, like the Soweto style. You don't have to go there with a suit. Your jean is okay. You can have fun. I don't know how transport can be arranged, but my suggestion is at 6 o'clock, or at 5 o'clock. My suggestion is at 5 o'clock. Maybe those who want to go can find us by the main reception. I think two, 3 cars can help. And also when you come back after you have taken a bit of this and that, you can be brought back. So trust us, trust Madam Sekoma. You'll be in good hands. I think that's all. You'll be in good hands and you'll enjoy yourself, definitely. Huh?
Thank you very much.
He's saying, do they sell coffee? No, it's they sell alcohol and soft drinks. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable, for that kind offer. I would suggest that all honorable members that are interested to attend should reach out to the committee secretary here so that there is an indication of the numbers to assist in the logistical arrangements. So honorable members who are intending to attend, please, once we leave here, reach out to our committee secretary for that information. Honorable members, before further announcements, really, I would want to pass a very special appreciation and gratitude to the Parliament of Botswana for having facilitated and hosted us over the past 3 days for our meeting here. Indeed, we felt at home visiting the campuses of the Parliament of Botswana, having a brief moment to watch the debate happen in the Parliament was an amazing experience for us. The kind of welcome that we got from the Speaker of Parliament and the Deputy Speaker, who even came here to actually open this meeting for us, was a kind of a heartwarming moment for us. We thank you very much for the hospitality, and hopefully we'll be back in Botswana some other time again in the same business. Thank you very much. I will hand over now to our committee secretary for any further announcements that may be there. Apart from that, let's have a great day. Travel safe back home, honorable members. Thank you.
Good afternoon, honorable members. And I have 2 quick announcements. One would be the submission of the country reports. We request that you submit the country reports before departure so that it assists in compiling our reports and any other documentation that will come as a product of this meeting. The second announcement pertains to the departures to the airport tomorrow, and these have been shared in the WhatsApp groups. For those countries which have more than one representative, we kindly ask honorable members in the WhatsApp group, the committee group, to also share with your colleague and advise them of the times. I think the majority of the people will be leaving at 5:30 in the morning.